Away we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Friday edition of the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Hello to you, and how do you do, Upstate South Carolina? It is wonderful to be with you one more time. Yeah. I gotta be careful. This microphone being right in front of my mouth is, I feel like it's worse for you than it is for me, Great One. But when you hit the you gotta hit it from down deep, man. It's gotta come from a place of passion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I'm not doing that because you're the energy. I'm laid back over here, man.
I notice, Lonzo.
I'm just a tired old man.
I noticed a change in the theme of wardrobe today.
Yeah, the game's over.
Oh, okay. We're on to the next one. Like Jay said, on to the next one.
It has nothing to do with the loss, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And I have many things to say, and I know who to blame.
I am.
We all know who to blame, but it's not who you think.
I mean, if who you think is Patrick Mahomes, you're wrong and you don't know ball.
Oh no, I'm not blaming him. I'm blaming Mark Ryan. And here's the reason why. So yesterday on Offsides, because I'm putting double duty all week, he wanted to talk about that awesome Florida player, Kadarius Toney, and growing, and just he's going to be great. And so he jinxed it. I usually don't believe in jinxes, but I'm going to blame Mark Ryan on this. It's his fault. And by the way, you guys can tell him I said it. I don't care. Like I care anyway. Yeah, it's all Mark Ryan's fault. And I'm sure he'll be okay with it. Because he loves to see my team lose.
Kadarius Toney last night was attempting to catch the football, and I can only assume, Lonzo, that inside of his gloves he kept his hands in fist, right? And he was trying to up the degree of difficulty by catching the ball between his fists instead of actually with his hands. Kadarius Toney was targeted, if I recall correctly, 5 times last night. He had 3 straight-up drops. 2 of them were atrocious. 1 of them ended up being popped in the air for a Detroit Lions pick 6 house call, and the last one was a completion that was good for 1 yard.
All right, have you seen Little Giants before? I think most people have seen Little Giants. He's hot hands. That's who he is. From now on, for me, unless he can redeem himself, I think it was the Hot Hands Houlihan. I can't remember the dude's last name, but he's Hot Hands. Remember, he ended up had to put all that glue on his hands in order to catch the ball. He needs some of that. Put some of that on your gloves. They won't see it.
Yep. It was a struggle. It was a mighty, mighty struggle for Kadarius Toney last night. I am going to say a couple of things about that game. The first is, Lonzo, I think that unfortunately for you, it showed just how deeply the Kansas City Chiefs rely on Travis Kelce. He's
not a surprise.
The game plan now.
That's not really a surprise. But think about it. If Toney would have caught those balls, I think there were like 4 drops. If he catches those, it's a different outcome more than likely. So I think you can actually pinpoint it on. They counted on a guy, and I heard on DA earlier, they played some Mahomes audio where he's like, he's still my guy. And of course you're going to say that because you don't take high road, and you should. The defense is never good enough as far as the Kansas City Chiefs goes. That's a problem. The defense for Detroit, really good. And we knew coming in that Detroit's going to be a pretty good team this year. At least that's according to all the hype, and it looks like that could be the case. But in the end, it's the same old, if you're a Kansas City fan, you just wait. Because they're down. That's what they do. They get down and they come back and they win. In this case, it didn't happen because Kadarius Toney can't catch the ball. So, there's a reason why I think it was the Giants let him go last year. And he had some good plays last year, but he wasn't the guy. And it looks like he may not be able to be the guy. And you're right, the guy is Travis Kelce.
Yeah, without a doubt. He just is the offense. And I think that got exposed last night. So Kansas City now left to effectively sit and hope that that knee of Travis Kelce hits the rebound real quick before the game started.
Write them off. It's over. The season is over. Kansas City has lost the first game. They got destroyed by 1 point. It's over. Or it was a good run, man. It really was. It was a good run.
The fall from the top of the mountain is long and difficult, huh? James just said, "I can't believe the disrespect the Lions showed by winning the game."
That's pretty disrespectful. It is.
I think that to some degree, it basically is not over unless this injury to Travis Kelce ends up being dramatically worse than has been reported. Last night, there was an update, I want to say at halftime of the game, from whoever the sideline reporter said, or was, where she said, "I got an update from the team during halftime," and the update was that this morning they put Travis Kelce in the pool as a way to test that knee. Basically, they were just having him use that knee against water resistance and nothing else. And Kelce reported that he could generate no power with that knee. And that's obviously very, very bad. Now, the knee injury was reported as being a hyperextension of the knee. Last night, they told us that it may be more of a deep bone bruise. That is the lingering effect, and I will tell you, as somebody who has had a deep bone bruise before, they do not heal quickly. That is not a regular bruise. Those take weeks to return, and they can return. You can get your strength back while you are still dealing with the deep bone bruise, but they hurt like a lot. They are tough to play on, play through contact. So Kansas City's on the road week 2 next Sunday down in Jacksonville, a team that I very, very much like and a team that I have predicted to win the AFC South. I did so on yesterday's show. We'll run through the rest, or at least some of the rest of the divisions that we didn't get to yesterday on today's show.
Hey, Rob, let me interrupt for a second.
Please.
NFL memes, I don't know if you follow them on the X.
Big fan.
They just put out Patrick Mahomes this season, worst record in the league, most INTs in the NFL, more incompletions than any other quarterback, averaging a pick 6 per game, has never beaten Jared Goff.
Actually,
wow.
That is true. Jared Goff is undefeated against Patrick Mahomes as of this morning.
Yeah. They faced each other twice. When he was with the Rams, I guess they lost to him too. But that's a
wonderful tweet.
That's disrespect right there.
Yeah,
I will also tell you that, and I'm not going to put this on the X. Eric Bieniemy is trending. So this is because Eric Bieniemy isn't there. That's why.
So there are questions.
That's why Kadarius Toney can't catch the ball, because Eric Bieniemy isn't there.
I would say, Zoe, you tell me if this is incorrect, but I would say that at the end of the game, there was some questionable play calling for the Kansas City Chiefs. Would you agree with that?
4th and 20, 4th and 25. You mean that?
I mean, yes.
Maybe if you know your defense can't stop their offense, you might as well go ahead, because I was mad. I'm like, why are you not punting? You got all 3 timeouts. You got the 2-minute
warning.
I think what they're saying, even though their defense did stop them in the second half, they absolutely did. For some reason, I think they thought the defense couldn't stop them. That's what I'm going with.
Okay.
I mean, that's the only explanation I can think of. Or you have such confidence in Patrick Mahomes and the magic that he has provided throughout the years that you thought 4th and 25, that's no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's fair, and I'm sitting there last night because, my goodness, did it feel wonderful to have my Twitter be nothing but an entirely Thursday Night Football tweets back and forth, including just Just your thoughts on your right tackle, Lonzo.
You mean the guy who used to be Tom Brady's tackle? Is that the one we're talking about? That they pointed out many times that he used to block for Tom Brady. Really? So is that why he keeps moving? I don't know.
Okay, so he was moving. We are in agreement that he was moving like a lot.
Dude, I'm not going to be that guy and go that I didn't see that stuff. And, there's also the tackles or the new guys in the offensive line. It's their first time playing in front of that crowd, too. So, and here's the other thing. There's not that much hitting in practice. You go full speed against someone. If they're losing 3 games from now, 3 games in the season, I'll be concerned. The first couple games to me is just basically preseason. It's unfortunate, but I think that's what it is. So I'm not worried. They were in the game. They could have won the game. Kadarius Toney catches some balls. Maybe they do win the game. But congrats to Detroit. They look good, and they got a good shot if they can get past Minnesota of winning that division. Although Chicago may have something to say. I don't know.
Jawan Taylor, the right tackle last night, was not just moving early. He was not just moving early, but he was also lining up effectively and in fact, Chris Collinsworth, for the first time in as long as I can remember, actually made me laugh last night.
Hey man, snitches.
When
Collinsworth,
he pointed
what
out
they get.
That Jawan Taylor was effectively lined up as a slot receiver. It was hilarious. But the fact that he went all game long, jumping early on every pass play, and when did they finally call him? On like 3rd and 20 at the very end of the game. It was unbelievable.
So the script said...
That was it. There it was.
So the script said, here's where we call it.
The script said, drama right now, right here. Let him jump, false start, all game long, and then we want you to nail him. We want you to nail him on like 3rd and 20 when the game's on the line. That's what we want to happen. And it was phenomenal, man. Phenomenal.
All right, so I'm curious.
By the way, real quick, Lonzo, I'll interrupt and then I want your thoughts, but just to tell you, Jawan Taylor, also a Gator alongside Kadarius Toney.
Not surprised. What have the odds dropped for Kansas City winning the Super Bowl now? I'm just after the one loss. I mean, let's face it, there were some glaring problems. It wasn't just the loss. There were some glaring problems. But I do believe that the lack of hitting in practice does come into play. I really do. I think there's always, since they went to 3 preseason games and since they've cut out a lot of the hitting in practice, that the first couple games in the season for everybody seems to be pretty sloppy.
As of last night, and this very could change, these odds don't jump around quite as much as for instance, the divisional winner odds will jump around a little bit. Divisional winner odds are much more impacted by any one individual game than the championship odds will be. So, for instance, the Chiefs were, I think, minus 175 to win the division. They are this morning minus 130. The Chargers were plus 250. They are now plus 200. So there is a little movement there. But the championship odds have changed ever so slightly. The Chiefs went from being, depending on where you took the ticket, plus 550 to plus 575. They are now at plus 600. The Eagles were anywhere from plus 675 to plus 700. They're now at 650. So yes, that gap has closed just a little bit as a result of last night. Now, we have gone this far, and we have not even gotten to my favorite thing that happened last night. Chris Jones is a defensive lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs and one of the best in the game. And Chris Jones is currently in the midst of a holdout because he, along with everyone, would like to make more money. So he is currently in the midst of a holdout. We know for a fact that he will hold out for at least 4 to 8 weeks or until he gets his new contract. And that's not The power move. That is pretty normal. By the way, if Travis Kelce is not on the horn this morning asking for more money based on what happened last night, I'll be shocked. But Chris Jones decided he is going to hold out for more money, and yet, Lonzo, yesterday evening, he bought a ticket and showed up to the game anyway, was just up in the stands watching his team play and waving at the camera like, "Sup, y'all? Y'all doing all right?"
Everyone's making such a big deal about this, but they explained why he was there on the broadcast, that he was there because the banner was being raised, and he was a part of that championship team, and he wanted to be there when the banner was raised.
You understand that doesn't in the least decrease how funny it is to me.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he cared.
It's a perfectly valid reason.
Yeah, I mean, they gave that. If they hadn't gave that reason, I would be like, man, that's messed up. But yeah, I get why he was there if that was indeed the reason. If he wanted to see the banner raised. And who knows, maybe he wanted to see the banner raised because he didn't think he'd be back again. Because maybe he thought, let me go buy this ticket and go watch because they're not going to give me my money and I'm going to sit out all year. I don't know.
I do think he is. I do think he is going to be back. Right. I do think he is going to be back. I don't.
Yeah, he needs to be. He's one of the guys on defense who can actually play defense.
Yeah, he's very good at it. All right, he's very good at it. I do think he is going to be back, and I do think it will be this year. In fact, if I recall correctly, yesterday. I read somewhere that he said basically he's got a deadline. Like, I'm going to sit out until I want to say it was like week 8, but he basically said there is a deadline where if I don't have a new contract, then I will rejoin the team at that point on my current contract, but it'll effectively be the last contract I take with the Chiefs. I will not re-sign with them. In order to reach that point, he is forfeiting over $12.2 million from the Kansas City Chiefs when you include his signing bonuses, his practice bonuses, his game by game salary, etc. With all of those things combined, he is going to sacrifice over $12 million in order to try to get a contract that will make up for that and a little bit more. But let's just say what it is. Last night, the Detroit Lion offensive line won the battle of the line of scrimmage more than they lost it, and that would have been at least somewhat different if Chris Jones was available for the Chiefs last night.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, you can't, a player of that caliber not being out there definitely hurts your team. I mean, so they were hurt on both sides of the ball.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, so one game. I am not the burn the jersey, jump off the building guy. Even if the Chiefs have a bad season, they won the Super Bowl last year. There are some guys out there who are fans of teams who've never felt that, and
never felt it, my dude. Detroit has never been to one. That team's been around forever, and they've never been to a Super Bowl. So. You're in a good spot. I'll say this. Every orthopedic doctor in Kansas City today is like, hey, Trav, you need me to come by and take a look? You need me to come by and take it? Do you need me to donate a couple? I can cut a couple of knees off some patients and ship them to the facility if you need me to.
I was shocked he didn't play. The fact that he didn't play, I think, hints at the severity of the injury.
Sure.
Because that dude will tough through anything if he can.
That was the first game he has missed due to injury since 2013.
So I'm thinking maybe they told him he could do worse damage if he jumped in there too quick, and that's why they kept him out. And they know what an asset he is, and they also know it's the very first game. So if you're going to lose him for a game or two, why not at the beginning of the season? Because there are a lot of games left.
Yeah, and listen, that's almost literally what I signed off yesterday on the show. I think during Twitter trending, X, with the X's going on yesterday.
That thing we do at the end of the show.
When we got to the last segment of the show yesterday, I believe him or something about the Chiefs was trending, to which I said, look, if Travis Kelce is going to miss a game, this is the game to miss. You are looking at a You're looking at an NFC opponent, right? A good one, but an NFC opponent. And after this, next week, you're at Jacksonville. So don't risk it in week one against an NFC opponent that you're not going to be in direct competition with for a playoff spot. Don't risk it against them when you got to go to Jacksonville next week, and you got to play a team that you very well might be in competition for a playoff spot for at the end of the season.
Unless you play like you did last night, and then probably not.
Well, again, I do have to say it wasn't awful. I do think I will be much more, and this is a very interesting narrative to watch now, Lonzo. Now all of a sudden that Commanders game, I'll get my changed team names correct eventually. The Commanders game on Sunday.
Hey, why get used to it? I mean, because it's going to change. That name's going to change.
It is.
Just stick with the Washington team. I mean, because they're still
Washington,
there as far as I know.
The Washington football team game on Sunday is going to be very interesting now, because if Eric Bieniemy is able to successfully maneuver and navigate a Washington football team / Commanders offense featuring UNC legend Sam Howell up and down the field, if he makes the Commanders look more than respectable on Sunday, then a lot of people are going to have to turn their eyes toward Kansas City and go, what the hell? Why is that guy gone? What went down here? Especially with Andy Reid's play calling last night.
This makes me happy, because we know during the NFL season there's usually nothing to talk about. So this could be a juicy thing, because there's nothing else going on other than football.
Not even a little,
yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
Not at all.
So we now turn our eyes towards Washington, D.C. That's not true. Towards Virginia, like 40 minutes north, to talk a little bit about Eric Bieniemy, because, again, if he looks stellar in his role as OC with the Commanders, there are going to be questions tossed around KC, I think, and more importantly, we wonder if Travis Kelce is going to be back anytime soon, because apparently without TK, this Chiefs offense is going to struggle a little bit. So we'll talk some more football as the show rolls on. Coming up in the next segment, we will dive into a few more NFL divisions and make our picks 1, 2, 3, 4 at 10:20 this morning. We will be joined by Emily Adams. She is from the Greenville News. It turns out, Lonzo, that she sent me a DM that gave me the new phone number to call to get her on the air yesterday, and I did not see it.
Wait. You didn't look at a DM or a text? That's so unlike you. It really is.
Listen, I look at all of my text, all right? I just respond.
Yeah, and I read thoroughly all the boss's emails. Yeah, sure.
We're just telling on ourselves this morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll take a look at some more NFL divisional races. In hour number 2, it's all college football. We'll take a look at the weekend upcoming in college pigskin. And then hour 3, we talk NFL, because it's week 1, baby. That's the great one, Lonzo. I am Rob Brown. This is the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
Gables.
Listen on your phone. Download
Now try Babbel for
All right,
free
ladies
at
and gentlemen in the
babbel.com.
chat, are we
Just
still
go to
overmodulated
babbel.com and
or is
start
the
learning a new
volume
language
better?
today. That's babbel.com.
And yes, Steven, I did watch episode 4 of
babbel.com.
Ahsoka, and
Hey,
I
Mike.
love
I
this
like the
show,
light.
Lonzo.
Oh, hey,
I love it.
yeah.
You being up to date is weird.
I know it is. It's. I told you, it's the first one in a while that I was like, I gotta watch this as it comes out. I love it.
Yeah, I watched it too. I'm not sure about a decision that was made by a certain
Wow,
character,
Duke
but
Energy.
you know,
How'd you get them to do that?
we'll see.
It was
Maybe
the
there's more than
with the
friendship
Smart
there.
Path program.
I guess we're
Duke
gonna
Energy
see.
can help
Anyway.
cover the cost of energy-efficient upgrades
Try
for
not
your
to spoil.
business.
That's
Visit
all.
I know. I'm trying to figure out. I think I know which
today.
decision you're
That
talking
world
about,
haunted
but I don't
attraction
know for a
is now open. Voted South Carolina's.
Hey man,
fact.
I've had a long week. Okay.
Lonzo has been, I believe the kids call it grinding this week.
10 years ago, it still would have sucked, but it wouldn't have been as bad as it is right now. Yeah, but it's fine.
Everything's fine.
It's good. Bourbon and Bacon Fest in the next break, by the way.
Bourbon and bacon, two of Rob Brown's favorite things. I'm gonna ask them to move that to the spring.
Why is Youngstown State trending? I don't want to look. Did they forfeit?
I don't know, but Louisville last night put up 9,000 yards.
A Brown Show.
Only on the fan states.
You are in the game with the Rob Brown Show. Thank you, Mr. Deep Voice Announcer Man. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rolling through the first hour of the Friday edition of the show. It is Friday, which also means that coming up this evening, we got Burns Rebels football for you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rebs on the road for the third time in 4 games when they take on the Yellow Jackets of Greer High School. The Rebs got back to winning ways in week 3 after a disappointing L to Chapman 2 weeks ago. I guess 3 weeks. Well, no, 2 weeks ago now. Last week, the Rebs went back on the road. The Rebs took it back to the house for the first time this season and played the Greenville High School Red Raiders and got a commanding win over the Red Raiders. They really settled down a little bit, so they'll try to keep the streak alive this evening when they travel to Greer to take on the Yellow Jackets. I will be on the call for you. Our pregame coverage will start at 7 p.m. You will hear from head coach of the Rebels, Reggie Shaw, and then, of course, kickoff at 7:30 with myself, Lane Fowler, and Sam Clark. Looking very much forward to that. And if you're a high school ball fan, coming up in just a tick over an hour from right now, we will be joined by John Epps and Kevin Thomas from the Movin' the Chains podcast. Those fellas cover high school ball around the state of South Carolina and do an excellent job of it. They join us every Friday to break down all the biggest games from around the state. And, of course, we always look forward to having those guys on. So we'll talk to the Movin' the Chains fellas coming up in a little over an hour, a little under an hour at 10:20. Emily Adams from the Greenville News is going to join us. We'll talk a little Gamecock football with her. So, my friends, if you would like to be a part of the show, the phone lines are open for you right now at 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663. And I would like to know, what would you consider for both Clemson and South Carolina? What would you consider a successful bounce back this weekend? The Tigers are at home for the first time. The Gamecocks are at home for the first time. We did get the announcement yesterday that Willie B is sold out for this game. The Gamecock fans did indeed buy every ticket in the place. So there's still very clearly there is still there is optimism around this program. As we have mentioned a number of times, this is a very, very talented Furman football team. Shane Beamer knows that. You guys should know it too. So I'm intrigued to see what the attitude is around Willie B coming up this weekend. we'll talk about that later on in the show with Emily Adams of the Greenville News. All right, I do want to take a look at a few more divisional winners across the NFL. Yesterday, we did the NFC South. Both of us picked the New Orleans Saints to walk out of that division victorious. Yesterday, we did the AFC South. I picked the Jaguars. Lonzo picked the Titans off the top of my head. I believe that is correct. Yesterday, we did the AFC East. I am sticking with Buffalo in this one. Lonzo is rolling with Aaron Rodgers and his New York Jets. And, of course, we did the AFC West, a division that I selected, as did Lonzo, the Kansas City Chiefs, before they got week 1 in the books. So let's talk. And we did the NFC West, where I am taking San Francisco, and I believe you were as well, Lonzo?
Yeah, we were.
I think we agreed on all but one yesterday.
No, I think we agreed on everything on the West.
In the West. Yeah.
In the West,
okay.
yeah.
I think the only one we disagreed on, we did the AFC East, we did the AFC South, we did the AFC West, we did the NFC South and the NFC West, and I think the only one we disagreed on was you had Tennessee and I had Jacksonville out of the AFC South.
Did we pick Jets and Buffalo? And
we did. If I recall correctly, you went with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and I went with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
No, it's just Josh. That's 2. Although he's peeking his head out of the bushes this morning with the way that Mahomes played last night. Actually, Mahomes played well.
Josh, I'm excited. I'm intrigued. Let's get to some of the divisions we have not gotten to, and let's start with the AFC North, which I actually think might very well be a really intriguing division this year, to tell you the truth.
Somebody signed a contract.
Joey B got paid. Joe Burrow last night getting a fat new stack from the Bengals. Listen, I was reading through
2 former Ohio State players. I just want to point out, the most, the highest paid at, just saying,
take what you can.
I know he went somewhere else to win a national championship, but Burrow started out,
Lonzo wants that Joey B rub, is what it is. Joey Burrow signs a 5-year, $275 million contract extension with $219.01 million of it guaranteed. Joe Burrow is now, on a per-game basis, the highest-paid quarterback in the National Football League. As of last night, the Bengals had apparently had this in the chamber for a minute. I thought the timing was interesting that it dropped, minutes before we kicked off that game last night. But either way, the deal is done. Joey B is locked in. So let's talk about this division itself. You've got the Bengals led by Joey Burrow. You've got the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, who is now the second highest paid quarterback on a per game basis in the National Football League. Deshaun is leading the Cleveland Browns, and of course Kenny the baby hands Pickett down there in Pittsburgh. This actually, Lonzo, might be one of the more competitive divisions in the NFL this year. I really liked the offseason that the Pittsburgh Steelers had. I think they got a lot younger this year. I think they added some skill talent. It really is just going to come down to, is the quarterback situation settled? But I do think this division is Cincinnati and Baltimore when it all comes down to it.
Yeah, no, I'm still not buying the Baltimore hype. I'd say it's Cincinnati and Pittsburgh.
Is it hype though? They've been there for at the very end for the last couple of years.
At the very end? No, not at the very end. I mean, they may win a playoff game, maybe. If we're just talking about division, yeah, I guess they've been competitive, but I think there's going to be a drop off for Baltimore this year. I think that holdout really hurt them team wise, and the fact that no one seemed to want the quarterback. Except for the team that, when they say, go ahead, go on out on the open market, you go ahead. And he ends up back where he was because it doesn't look like there was a lot of interest. Maybe there was. Cincinnati has been, I mean, there have been, in the AFC, it's been a 3-team race. It's been Cincinnati, it's been Buffalo, and it's been Kansas City. And I don't see why that would change anymore. But Pittsburgh looked a lot better near the end of the season. And I just think Pittsburgh's going to be a little bit better than Baltimore.
Here's why I'm
I
intrigued.
think we both agree who's in last place, though.
Yes, we do. Here's what's, to me, the most intriguing about the Ravens. Remember, the Ravens have a new offensive coordinator this year. It is Todd Monken. Todd Monken, of course, was the man who has been responsible for the Georgia Bulldogs offense the last couple of years. So Todd Monken moves up back to the NFL ranks, and he will be working alongside Lamar Jackson. What did I find interesting about Todd Monken's style as the OC, predominantly, is that Monken is very much a run-first kind of guy, but he's also a guy that's not afraid to utilize the run. He's not a guy that's afraid to utilize the quarterback run, but he doesn't do it often, which means that I think behind a very talented J.K. Dobbins with Gus Edwards and Justice Hill backing him up, that the Ravens are going to be a team that very much, and this is something I don't think they've done as successfully the last couple of years as Raven fans would like, I think they will, for the first time in a minute, utilize the run to set up Lamar's pass, as opposed to using Lamar as a runner and a threat as a runner to set up the Lamar Jackson pass. I think that they are going to be a retooled offense a bit this year. That being said, the Bengals just have talent all over the field, man. The Bengals are just going to be a good team. Joey B now does not have the concern about injury in the back of his noggin, so as long as he is capable of staying healthy, I think that Joey B will still be Joe B. Joe Mixon, whatever you think about him off the field, is still a very talented wide receiver on it. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, one of the more dangerous wide receiver crews. And remember, the Bengals upgraded their offensive line by giving the biggest offensive line contract in the NFL to Orlando Brown Jr. to play the left tackle and keep Joey B's jersey clean. The rest of the offensive line is good. It's good, but Orlando Brown Jr. is the anchor, I think might go down as one of the bigger pickups of this offseason. AFC North, great one, is going to be won by the Cincinnati Bengals. I do think that the Baltimore Ravens are going to be breathing down their neck in Week 18. I think it very well could come down to the final week of the season. But ultimately, I think the Bengals just have a little bit more talent inside and out and get this thing done.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Cincinnati definitely is going to win this whole thing. Him signing the contract, I mean, the calf strain or whatever it was, definitely a concern if you're a Bengals fan. But, you know, he came back from an appendectomy last year and played pretty well after the first couple games. So it may take him a couple games to get back where he needs to be. But, you know, he's going to be where he's awesome. He really is. There's no word to describe Joe Burrow. I mean, the one thing that he needs is a Super Bowl. And
he's gotten close.
He has. We'll see what happens this year. But the rest of the team is pretty good. I love his receiving core. I really do.
So
I think
do
his receiving core is awesome. Probably one of, if not the best receiving core in the NFL. The rest of that division, though, I think Baltimore's going to drop off, and I think that Pittsburgh's going to step up.
I am going
no
Baltimore.
Roethlisberger to worry about anymore. No looking over your shoulder. Kenny Pickett's the guy.
The man.
Yeah, so we'll see what he does.
I am going with Cincinnati to win the AFC North. I will take Baltimore to check in second. I am going to go Pittsburgh to check in third, and the Browns bring up the rear because I still do not believe that the Browns are anything more than a dumpster fire of an organization. So, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland for Rob Brown. Lonzo is going Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland.
That's exactly right.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up hour number one with a quick glance up and down the NFC North. We've also still got to get the NFC East in here. And then hour number two, ladies and gentlemen, it's all college ball from start to finish. We will run you through the games, the matchups of the weekend that matter to you. We'll talk with Emily Adams of the Greenville News, a little South Carolina Gamecock football, and more. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Fan Upstate.
Bourbon.
Hey, it's DA. Wake up with a morning jolt of in-depth sports analysis and discussion every weekday at 6 on the DA Show. Only on the Fan Upstate.
Touchdown, David Montgomery rushed for a score. On the other side, Patrick Mahomes, 21 of 39, passing 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Bryant Branch picked off Mahomes for a 50-yard interception return touchdown late in the third quarter to tie the game at 14. Then Montgomery's 8-yard run finished off a 9-play, 75-yard drive to win the game. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladins football play-by-play all season long. Catch every game right here live. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, the Fan.
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live from the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, Rob Bradford here. I have set out on a mission with my good friends at FanDuel to prove what I have known for some time. Baseball isn't boring. Now I have a daily podcast to prove it with some of the most notable people in the baseball world, screaming baseball isn't boring from the mountaintops, or at least agreeing to come on our show. Players, managers, GMs, and yes, even the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred. It has been a
You're still
constant
muted.
stream of
I don't know if
baseball
that's how that's
powerful
supposed to
voices.
be.
So join the revolution. Subscribe and soak in baseball.
Alright, you're supposed to
Very
be-
much not.
On your Odyssey app or wherever
Yeah,
you
and
like.
then I'm supposed to be muted, right? I don't know.
you.
I don't know. I didn't do it. I wasn't.
I know you didn't. You're not
Opportunity to give back.
I wasn't even in here, man.
Towers. The nonprofit builds
Oh, it ain't my fault. Did I do that?
By the way, Zach, we addressed that in the first segment. Yeah, it's not good. I'm sure they'll get it
It was
fixed.
not good at all.
I'm sure they'll get it fixed.
Twin Peaks will offer a $5 bonus card.
It's just I can't be panic guy after one game, especially in the NFL.
Scenic views.
At Granger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail.
Kansas City didn't win all their games last year either, and they won the Super
Because
Bowl.
you know the
So
tiniest thing can make the biggest
only been
difference when
one
it comes to
team that
keeping
was
your
able to do
business
that,
moving.
unfortunately.
We're the same way, offering access to product experts.
Then
that
another
help
one came
quickly
close, and then the
easily
Giants took
find
care
what
of
you
it.
need.
Yeah.
So whatever your industry,
Screw you,
you're always
Patriots.
getting professional grade products. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Hurry up.
Go away. I'm enjoying my hot shower.
Yeah, we'd all like to. Hot water hog.
That's it. Family meeting. We can all enjoy long, steaming, hot.
So I'm on the final leg of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm the main boss. I'm right there getting ready to, and I shut it down and I go in to watch Kansas City lose. I mean,
tankless water heater.
could have stayed in there and took care of that, but no.
Tanklessmadesimple.com to learn more.
For what it's worth, it was a phenomenal game.
Everything.
Oh, it was a really good game. But that's how all Kansas City games are. They're not blowouts. They win in the end. That's how they do it. When they win.
I've spent hours and hours sending inspirations. I've sent clothes that I love and fabrics, and I'm involved in every single.
I wish people would stop breaking things.
It's important to me.
Which cannot-
It's an
well,
extension of my music,
because
and it's an extension
other
of who I
people
am. I always want it to
don't
stay
understand
alive.
that you put these mic stands in a certain position and you move around it. You don't keep moving it because eventually you're going to break it. And
I have a secret weapon.
can't blame Diesel this week because he wasn't here. So, but I know whose fault it is.
Most bothersome cold and cough symptoms quickly. And the best part is that Dayquil Kids Berry tastes really great. Aren't you supposed
Yeah,
to be
Zach.
less-
We actually talked about that yesterday. Rob talked about that in depth yesterday.
Delicious
That was
daytime congestion, coffee, and
was
stuffy
awesome.
head, stuffy nose. Just
Hey,
for
back and
kids.
watch the clip. I haven't watched it yet.
Safe for kids 6 years plus.
Listen on the Odyssey.
Oh, it's the commercials in again. Man, I suck.
All right, let's take a real quick stroll through a division we have not gotten to yet. Lonzo, let's go to the NFC North, featuring, of course, last night's victors, the Detroit Lions, who took a one-point win home on the road to the Kansas City Chiefs, ruining their Super Bowl banner reveal. And how about this? The Lions are the favorite to win this division at minus 112. Now, that's not a ridiculous number because San Francisco is minus 165, the Chiefs minus 130, the Eagles minus 130, the Jags minus 160. In fact, there are only two divisions in football where there is not a minus number attached to the divisional favorite. That is not what is interesting to me. What is interesting to me, Lonzo, is how long the odds are for second place. The Minnesota Vikings are plus 285 in this division. Plus 285 in this division, the NFC North. The question is it Minnesota? Is it Detroit? A lot of people pick Minnesota, and why wouldn't they? Kirk Cousins gained a lot of fans this offseason with the quarterback docuseries.
Not Rob, but,
Not Rob. No, that's not true.
Wait.
Wait. Let me be very clear about this.
Don't get angry with me. It's Friday, man.
No,
I was just playing. I'm just kidding.
Here's why it's important to me. Rob Brown has been one of the very few people in this industry who has been defending Kirk Cousins the whole time. I just think he's a dork. All right? And that's okay. Most of my favorite people are dorks. You're a dork. Captain America, Chris Evans down the hall. He's a dork.
No.
Matthew's a dork.
Listen. There's a difference between a nerd and a dork. There's definitely a difference.
Yes, there is, but there's also a huge overlap.
By the way, I do agree that
we're all dorks.
No. I'm going to agree that Kirk Cousins is.
Kirk Cousins is a dork.
I'm not going to, because if you wear your shirts buttoned all the way up, that's that's the thing.
Yeah.
I got to let my chest hair go.
Yeah. Listen,
so,
I'm not judging him on wearing the Kirkland Brands flannel because as a recently minted Costco member myself,
you even know the brand.
I'm way in on Team Kirkland at this point in my life, all right? But Kirk's a dork. That being said, Rob Brown historically has been one of the only people in this industry who has defended Kirk Cousins and said Kirk Cousins is actually a good quarterback who's been on some pretty bad teams so far, but he is a dork. However, he does have an excellent group of skill players around him. Yes, they lost Adam Thielen without a doubt.
He lost a couple of players. He also lost his running back.
He did. He lost Adam Thielen. He lost Dalvin Cook. That is why the Vikings are plus 285. If those two guys were still there, I honestly think the Vikings are probably favored in this division. I am actually gonna roll with Detroit. I had these picks down before yesterday. I'm gonna roll with Detroit to win the division. I am going to take the Vikings second. I am going to take the Packers third. And I'm going to take the Chicago Bears fourth. I just don't everybody thinks this is the year for Justin Fields. It's not Justin Fields, dudes. It's the rest of the team. That's a problem. Lions, Vikings, Packers, and Bears. Oh, my predicted order of finish. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, time to talk weekend college football. We take a look up and down the week 2 schedule, give you some picks, give you some winners, talk to Emily Adams and more. It's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate.
This is cornerback Dante Jackson. This is Brian Burns. Hey, it's Andy Dalton of the Carolina Panthers.
All right, now we're going to have a discussion tomorrow night on the show about the difference between a dork and a nerd, because there's definitely a difference.
And started learning Spanish.
What would you define as the difference between a dork and a nerd?
I think this is something that I will have to spend some hours contemplating, meditating. I do believe there's a difference, but I will put together a flow chart, maybe.
So you're a huge nerd.
So that's exactly right. A dork wouldn't do that. A nerd would.
In Spanish.
Estoy muy
emocionado para ir a España
contigo.
According to
AyokaSystems.com, nos vamos a divertir mucho.
Geek tends to have an interest in subjects of academic or technical importance. A nerd's interest in doing more trivial, like knowing every line in Star Wars movies. A geek tends to have a higher intellect than a nerd and more specialized skills. I might go as far. You know what? I accept this. A nerd
this is an important notice
geek,
to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical
that's
debt,
me.
and other unsecured debt.
That's me. That describes me perfectly.
But you have technical skills. You are the best radio producer in all the land and a wild card of video game and board game talent.
I will say that's more about talent than tech skills. And I'm not, I know how that sounds, me saying that, but I think that's more about talent than tech.
Established a special hotline for you to call
a monkey could do my job.
They've helped
at least some of it.
consumers with over $1 billion in debt.
Yeah, although I heard on DA show earlier, they did a AI version of Mraz.
Call 800-873-7171.
They inputted certain things and had him do his recipe of the week.
Really?
It's freaky, dude.
Hey, Mike, what are you doing there? Staring.
Thank you.
Yep.
It is freaky. It's, yeah. No, thank you. We already know my opinion on AI. Other people are starting to feel that too. And DA was talking about just doing a version of himself to be there every Friday so he doesn't have to work. Does he not realize that eventually he doesn't have a job because the AI becomes the host?
I mean, the AI can only be as good
as a person inputting. Right.
Correct.
You input all the things. You've already got samples of the voices. What do you need the other guy for? You pay the geek to program everything in, and you no longer need the talent.
Listen, I've said for years, I think that in the long run, nerds are going to run the world, and this might be the reason why right there.
I don't want to hear an AI version of me because it'll probably sound better. So I don't know what that.
That's all I need is a computer with better verbal skills than me.
Wow.
Hang on,
I wish I could talk like that.
All I need is a computer that is a better Rob Brown than Rob Brown. So there's that's really interesting because one of the things that is a huge issue in the writers' strike right now.
Exactly. That's we talked about that.
Yeah. One of the things for those of you in the listening and viewing audience, one of the things that is a massive issue in the writers' strike right now is that studios are wanting to capture the likenesses of actors and then basically take them, build a virtual model of them, and then use artificial intelligence to insert them into background roles, right? So basically, you would, if you were a background actor, you would go into the studio or whatever. You would go into the studio. You would be recorded doing different stuff. They would capture your image, and then in the future, the studios would have the rights to use artificial intelligence to place you into a scene in a movie, and they would pay you for the work done to capture you. But the studios, what they want to say is, once we pay you, they effectively own the rights to your image. They own the rights to you, and they can utilize you via AI in the movies going forward without having to pay you for further performances. And the Screen Actors Guild folks are going, no, man, you can't do that. If you're going to use us in a movie, you have to pay us as actors, whether you do it virtually or if we show up on set to do the work.
Well, get ready. Video games are about to enter that too. Talked about it last week. Some video game companies they're about to go on strike too.
I mean, they're already mocapping. Like there was, I don't remember the name of it, but there was that movie, there was that video game a while back where the main character was played by the cat from Walking Dead and Doc say is that his name?
Daryl.
Yeah.
That's not his name. But
Yeah.
Man, if I was a nerd, I'd know. I do know his name. I forget. Yeah. Death Stranding was the name of the game. Right.
Fan Upstate.
Hour numero dos of the Rob Brown Show goes now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What up, world? How's everybody? Y'all good? Good. I'm ever so glad to hear it. Woo! You, the royal you, all of you collectively, as one, as a people, should come hang out with us on the Facebook stream because we have conversations off the air that I say we don't have on the air, but a lot of segments have been made based on a conversation we were having off of the air that bleeds over to it. We continued the conversation or started the conversation. I don't remember on the break there about the difference between geeks, nerds, and dorks. I would say that what we kind of came to the conclusion of is that a nerd is a dork who has better social skills. I'm your Huckleberry. Correct, like Uncle Lonzo, as he said during the break. A dork is a dork. A nerd is a dork who has better social skills, and a geek is a dork who has more technical skills. I think that's where I'm going to land on it. I'm going to say a geek is somebody that has, the math and reading and writing and engineering skills to make something of their dorkiness. A nerd is a dork who is capable of just having an ongoing conversation that doesn't make other people go, okay, this guy's a weirdo. And a dork is somebody who likes all the same things as the nerds and the geeks, but they just have no social skills or ability to shower.
All right. So, showering, not a priority for them. So, wrestling nerd, wrestling dork, or wrestling geek?
I would say we both fall into the nerd category here, right? I'd say we're both nerds. I'd say we're both dorks that have, whether you will admit or not, you host multiple radio shows per week, the social capability to have an ongoing conversation with someone that doesn't make them go, I need to get away from this guy and I need to get away from this guy immediately.
I can also do that.
Right. Sure.
Try
that's
leaving
a choice that you make.
Yeah. Try leaving our doorway because I'm going to ask you like 3 or 4 more questions just to make you stand there.
You have the ability to flip back and forth betwixt both, and that is why I think that you are a nerd, as am I.
Yeah, but see, we're uber wrestling nerds that are privileged because we get to interview wrestling legends, current wrestlers, and the like.
Absolutely, but for the record,
my understanding from something that Rob said is that we might be interviewing some soon.
I will simply say that coming up on October 30th, Monday Night Raw will be right here in the GVL, my dudes, and the wheels are in motion. I'll just say that. Okay? That's it.
All right, so I hope Seth Rollins isn't here. If he is, I'm going to go get some popcorn and stuff when he walks out because it's going to be a while before anything happens while everyone does the chanting thing. It's just, it's annoying.
You've made that clear.
Yeah,
and I respect it.
It is. Oh, we both will be there. When he comes out, you turn around and look. I am getting up and leaving because I got plenty of time. Guarantee you I can get to the restroom and back before he says a word. And don't ever complain about Roman's entrance because I'm sure there's people who have timed it out there. It's got to be just as bad.
We will be talking about that a lot more as we get ever closer to the beginning or to the Monday Night Raw episode. We're looking forward to it.
I'm sorry for being nerdy there. I will say I was not dorky there. I just wanted to prove a point.
Correct. There's a big difference, and it is legitimate. Ladies and gentlemen, let us talk a little college football here, ladies and gentlemen. And I will start with this, and we are asking you the same question, which you can answer at 844-326-3663, 844-326-3663, or by shooting us a text on the carpros.com text line at 71307, 731-71307. That's the number.
If you were a geek, you'd be able to recite those numbers without a problem because that's what geeks do.
71307 is the number to the carpros.com text line. You can shoot us a text. We'll read them on the air. Texter says, Rob and Lonzo, give me your best LA night. Let me talk to you.
Yeah, I'm not doing that because I'm Lonzo and I don't have a catchphrase. That's what I'm quoting right there. Good night, everybody.
Let me talk to you. Yeah. Big fan.
No.
All right.
Your is good, but to let me talk to you, it was kind of off a little bit.
I'm working on it. All right. I'm working on it. All right. We asked you guys a question. What do you want to see out of your favorite college football team, Clemson fans, South Carolina fans, to consider week 2 a successful bounce back for your program? And we've gotten a couple of answers so far. Texter said, I think for Clemson, they need to let Garrett Riley take the reins and let the man cook. For South Carolina, they need to do their best to adapt to the injuries they have. And I think that's fair on both fronts. As a matter of fact, shortly after the show is over, I am going to be dropping a short 6-minute video that I made last night because Rob Brown has entered the role of millennial video editing. Lonzo, I did the thing where I'm in the camera and I lean over and I point and then a thing appears where I'm pointing on the screen. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I did that.
Like the TikTokers?
I did that a decade ago before TikTok existed.
Yeah, I
mean, but I'm sure your video is going to be awesome. I cannot wait to watch it. How How long did it take you to put it together?
About 3.5 hours for the 6 minutes long that it is.
You know why? If you were a geek, it would have been done in, like 5 minutes.
Well, in fairness,
but you're a nerd, so
every geek has to learn has to start learning at some point. All right, and I'm gonna say a chunk of that was like watching the tutorials on how to use Adobe Rush Premiere to get better at it. So that was factored in, which I won't have to do next time. So we'll see how long the next one takes. Either way, that video will be going up on the Fan Upstate social media shortly after the show comes to its conclusion.
Hey, like, subscribe, mash that button, all the things that the kids say.
Yeah, do all the millennial stuff.
And share it. And
smash that subscribe button, bro.
And know that when you share it, you've shared history.
You really have.
Yeah.
You really have.
First one of doing that, so it'd be awesome.
When Lonzo and I are broadcasting from high atop the Sears Tower or something, you'll be able to say, hey, I was part of that.
I don't know. There's a lot of windows. I might have to sit in the center of the room and keep my eyes down so I don't get woozy.
So I absolutely agree with that texter. I think one of the easiest fixes for Clemson to make right now would be let Garrett Riley cook, all right? Let Garrett Riley do what Garrett Riley does, please. You did not, if you brought, and I'm going to say this in the video, but I'll give you a little sneaky peek here. If you brought Garrett Riley all the way over from TCU and did so with the intent of telling him, hey, listen, our offense is our offense. We don't want you to do anything but make some minor changes and then coordinate it. It was a waste of money, right? It was a waste of money, man. That's not great. It's just not great. So my thought here is turn my dude loose, right? Because if Cade Klubnik is the guy that you tell us that he is, then you should be unafraid to allow Garrett Riley, to allow Cade Klubnik to uncork. Now, I think there is one major problem, and I think it got exposed a little bit against Duke last Monday. And that issue, Lonzo, is I do not think that the Clemson Tigers have the athletes that they have had in the past, specifically at the wide receiver position. If you have been following this team and the media breakdown all week, you have heard the word vertical or verticality a billion times so far this week. And the reason for that is because they were not vertical and they did not have any verticality. And I think that was very, very obvious in watching that game. Now, if Clemson just doesn't have the horses, and this is, again, let me tell you what this video is going to say. You can watch the long format of it after the show. This, to me, is a problem that starts and ends with Dabo Swinney, okay? It starts and ends with Dabo Swinney, and here's why. There are two possibilities that I have been able to foresee here. There are two realistic possibilities that I am able to foresee. The first possibility, Lonzo, is that the Clemson Tiger offense, they looked at it, they evaluated it, and they realized, we just don't have the talent. We just don't have the horses. We don't have the athletes like we did when guys like Hopkins and Watkins were coming through.
I notice you're not mentioning the quarterback as a problem.
I'm coming to that too. All right. I'm coming to that too. As much as we had guys like D-Hop and as much as we had guys like Sammy Watkins and we had all of these studs when the names like Lawrence and Watson were playing the QB role, as much as those guys were generational caliber QBs, we also were able to surround them with top flight wide receivers as well. And the reality here is you just don't have that this year. Those guys aren't there. And so if the recognition is there for this team that, we just don't have the wide receivers to turn these guys loose. We just don't have the guys out there on the outside that we can say, all right, man, run down there. Like, we're going to go with the old bleep it, he's down there somewhere offense. That's a problem. And it is a problem that would come directly back to Dabo Swinney, the guy that is ultimately in charge of roster breakdowns. That would be a Dabo problem, in my opinion. The second possibility is that this is an active choice, the choice to continuously run screens, the choice to run every wide receiver route that is a 4-and-out or a 4-and-in and make that your offensive identity. If Garrett Riley is your OC, that is a Dabo Swinney choice as well, because you can go back to last year and you can watch the offense that Garrett Riley ran during his time at TCU, and I don't think you have to be a football guru to understand that Garrett Riley's offense is much wider and much more vertical. Roger just checked in on the stream and said, why are y'all assuming Dabo is calling the plays? I don't know that he is calling the plays, but I do think that he is setting what he wants the offense to be, Roger.
The Clemson way, as we talked about
absolutely.
yesterday.
Remember, after that game was over on Monday, when Dabo was in the locker room doing his post-game presser, and somebody asked him about Garrett Riley's offense not really being there, what did he say? He said, we brought Garrett in to run the Clemson offense. We brought him in as an offensive coordinator, and that's what he's here to do, to coordinate the Clemson offense, which says to me that Dabo says, this is what I want my offense to look like. You guys take care of the details of making it so, right? It's kind of like it's exactly like this show, in that I can go to Lonzo and go, this is what I want the tone of the show to be. This is the atmosphere, the energy of the show. I want it to be upbeat. I want it to be fun. I want it to be funny. I want it to be uplifting. I want it to be positive. And then I trust Lonzo to build the beds and the bumpers and come up with all the different stuff that makes the sound of the show. But at the end of the day, if the show fails, it's on me. I'm the one who dictated what it should sound like and how it should look and what it should be and what the tone is. Lonzo can put in all the sound bites. Lonzo puts in the beds. Lonzo is an active participant in the show. Lonzo runs the show quite literally, but if the show fails, it's on me. Exactly. And I feel like that is kind of the case with Dabo Swinney and Clemson. So, to me, there's two options. Number one, the stagnant play calling of the Clemson Tigers is an active decision by Dabo Swinney, and he particularly does not care who is the guy. I talked to somebody, how do I say that without giving away? I talked to somebody who is not a direct member of the Clemson Tiger football staff, but is in regular, frequent, behind-the-scenes contact with them, okay? I will tell Lonzo who it is off the air so that he can confirm he knows exactly who I'm talking about. I spoke with someone who is not a member of the staff, but somebody who has immediate and regular behind-the-scenes contact with the staff. And what I got told, because I said on Twitter last weekend, hey, maybe Brandon Streeter wasn't the problem. Maybe he was a scapegoat. Maybe it wasn't on this guy. TJ! And maybe TJ wasn't the problem. Maybe, just maybe, TJ was not the issue. And I got told by somebody behind the scenes that there is a growing feeling within the program that is the case. There is a growing feeling within the athletic department that is the case. There is a growing feeling on campus that the issues right now with Clemson's offense are directly connected to Dabo Swinney wanting it done the Clemson way, which is ... Dabo's way. That there is a growing feeling behind the scenes in the athletic department that a lot of the holdup, a lot of the stagnation of the Clemson offense is due to the fact that Dabo Swinney says, look, this is what we're going to do. You guys work out the details. You guys put everything into action. But this is what I want it all to look like. And it was a system that worked when you had Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant, Deshaun Watson, and these great quarterbacks, when you had DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins and all these great wide receivers, when you had Travis Etienne and all these great running backs. That system worked because the inadequacies that are showing up right now for Clemson, a team that has, by the way, lost 3 of their last 4 football games for the record. Granted, one was a bowl game, but the stat is still true. There is a growing frustration at the stagnation in the offense because the belief is this is Dabo's vision. And he is hamstringing the guys that are in charge of the offense to do it his way. Dabo said on, I think it was Tuesday, Lonzo, and I wish I'd have pulled the sound clip. I could not find it, and then I gave up looking for it. But Dabo said he believes that if they play the same style offense with the same intensity for the rest of the year, Dabo says he doesn't believe that they will lose another football game, Lonzo.
Yeah, I heard that, and all I could think of was a rallying cry.
It was a quote that took me by surprise.
What'd you expect them to say? To throw everybody under the bus and go, hey, we're going to pull this together. We'll be good. Watch us this next game, which they will look better this next game, obviously.
I mean, I gotta hope so.
Yeah, because it's kind of hard to look worse.
Yeah, I hope so. I think that the takeaway here is this is a problem that, whether it is acceptable to say it or not, respectfully, is directly connected to Dabo. Because we know Garrett Riley has a specific type of offense that he likes to run. We saw it all year last year with TCU. It took them to a national championship game. We haven't seen that offense yet. So either it's Dabo's hamstringing his OC, or they are looking at it and they're going, wait a minute, we don't have the talent to run a Garrett Riley offense. We just don't have that talent level around us anymore. And if that is the case, then that is a failure on the part of recruiting and using the portal to fill gaps of Dabo Swinney. So a bounce-back weekend to me, and I agree with the texter, is you better let Garrett Riley cook, and you better let him turn those horses loose, and let's see what Clemson looks like if they are actively trying to get vertical and move the ball up and down the field. We'll talk more about that later on in the show, but we got to run to a break because when we come back, Emily Adams joins the show from the Greenville News. We'll talk to her a little bit about what the Gamecocks need to do in order to call this weekend a successful bounce-back weekend, and we will do it next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate, y'all.
This is the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
All right, guys, we're going to pop off very briefly while we get Emily on the phone line. We'll be right All right, folks and folkettes. Today I learned that verticality is a word. Yes, I'm a big fan of it.
Here's the thing, Keegan. If you pause for just a moment on the phone, it will try to dial whether you put 3 numbers in or 4 numbers in, or it's just I'm not the only one who has this problem. I know of 2 rooms where this is a difficulty with multiple people, and it's not just me. Emily's on the line, by the way.
Perfect.
And it's stressful because I'm like, okay, oh man, look at my, oh yeah, oh, I got it. Yes. Did it first time too. It's a record for me. You know, one thing I still haven't been able to do is make it to Carolina to see the LED thing. I want to see that, but it's just kind of hard for me to get down there.
Well, pick us a Sunday game. Let's go.
Saturday. I'm talking about the Gamecocks.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So.
It's super dope.
I mean, it looks cool on TV. I don't know if I'll ever get to. Maybe when I retire.
Maybe when I retire. Let's see, Chaw. DJ.
It's in your head.
DJ.
Someone's staring at you over your shoulder. Your left shoulder. Look at the TV, dude.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why I did this.
Okay, all right. I couldn't tell. It's a big TV, so I guess maybe you turned enough to see it. I don't know. Do you guys get jealous if you see someone who has a bigger TV than yours?
Yes, that's why I did it.
Okay, you went 75. Is that the biggest that you could get?
Nope.
Or this is the biggest you can afford.
Costco has a 100-inch television that is like $3,500.
Why? Why do you, I mean, maybe, I
Because here's
know.
the reality. If you can afford going 3.5 G deep on a TV, you've got the wall space for it.
I mean, how far back do you have to be to really enjoy it?
100-inch TV based on like the size of this TV, would go almost to the corner of the door up there.
Right. It's like the wall.
It would
it's
be
the entire wall.
If I got 100-inch TV, I did the measurement, it would fill up this entire
Rob
wall.
Brown Show.
Like everything
Now
above the
9 to
entertainment stand would be covered.
Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? We have the honor and the privilege to welcome back to the show a friend of the radio broadcast, a young lady we've had the enjoyment of talking to about South Carolina athletics since she got here and started covering the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. She is, of course, Miss Emily Adams, back in the time slot here on the show. Emily, so good to have you back. How you doing, ma'am?
I am doing great. Good to be back. How are you?
Exceptional. It's football season. I watched football last night. I'm watching football tonight. I got football all day Saturday. The NFL's back Sunday and Monday. Life, Emily, is fantastic. Thank you for checking.
For real.
Let's talk a little bit about this Gamecock program. And since we have not gotten to catch up about it yet, let's talk about week number 1, the loss against North Carolina. And so I've said in the past, Emily, that any game, there is a sliding scale as to the result. It can either be 100% Team A lost it or 100% Team B won it, and then, there's a back and forth. I have said on this show that I feel like that game was 60% won by North Carolina and 40% lost by South Carolina. In your view, and taking the injuries to guys like Nicky Mamori into consideration, in your view, what went wrong for South Carolina, and then maybe more importantly, what went right that can be built upon?
Yeah, I mean, outside of Rattler and Xavier Legette, obviously, who had a huge breakout, there's not a whole lot that went right. I think one of the sort of encouraging things was, after Imamori went down, Jalen Kilgore kind of did the Nick Imamori, came in, first drive of the game and, wasn't lights out, but it was really solid for a true freshman. I thought he played better than some of the older guys in that unit on Saturday. So I think that bodes really well for them. But outside of that, I mean, it's the offensive line issue, I think is just going to be the big question really all year until, it starts to look any different. And, Beamer a lot this week has, emphasized the youth and some of the inexperience on that line, but I don't know how valid of an argument that is, considering, the guys who played the majority of the snaps, 3 of them are returners and 2 of them are transfers with at least 2 years of playing experience. Nick Gargiulo is a grad transfer, so he's got 4 or 5 now. So, I mean, the offensive line obviously wasn't strong last year. They lost a bunch of guys from that line. I don't think anyone came into this game expecting it to look great. But that was a lot worse than I think anyone, including the people in the building, expected. So, I mean, I think that's just a giant red flag until something turns around there.
So is there a chance, Emily, and I'm gonna ask you this in a minute. I asked, what do we consider a successful bounce back against Furman this weekend? And I said one of the things that I think I want to see is I want to see rotating offensive line starting fives, right? Like, I want to see just a different combination of guys. I want to see the young guys on the roster plugged in because, hey, if we're going to struggle like that, I'd rather let the young guys that are the future of the program go through the growing pains than work with a couple of transfer guys that are kind of on their last leg before they call it a college football career. Is there a chance we see a different starting five or maybe rotating shifts amongst offensive linemen to try to correct that problem this weekend?
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to have to play with the personnel a little bit just because obviously what they had didn't work. And as much as, it might look better against Furman's defensive line, even as much as North Carolina's defensive line is sort of average, a Furman team is not going to bring the same challenge that they did. So I think it's hard to just look at this O-line and say, okay, it needs to look better this week because it should look better this week. You're playing a much lesser opponent. But yeah, I think we're very much on the same page in that I think it is high time for the freshmen to start getting into the game. I don't think it was a bad idea necessarily to keep them out of that North Carolina game just because, throwing a bunch of true freshmen into a, prime time week 1 game, not at home, is not an ideal scenario to start off your collegiate debut. But I think this week we really need to see Trovon Baugh. We need to see, Tree Babalade. I think obviously it sucks that Marquis Anderson is still out right now because he's sort of the one there's been the most optimism and hype around from that group. But once he gets healthy, I'd like to see him in that rotation, obviously, as much as possible. I just think, with the O-line recruits they have coming in next year, getting some of those underclassmen into a position to be leaders in 24, I think is really important. And so, against a team like Furman, this is a really good opportunity to do that.
Emily Adams from the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate talking a little Gamecock football. Last question or two about the game from last Saturday before we look ahead to this Saturday. And, you mentioned it a minute ago. I do not think that it can be discussed how impressive Spencer Rattler was in this game. I don't think you can. I think the fact that my guy went for an 80% completion percentage, well north of 300 yards, and did so while he was running for his life. I put up a tweet that was an image from one of the plays early in the game where North Carolina brought 3, had 2 men in the backfield, and the picture was from behind the line of scrimmage with 3 Gamecock offensive linemen staring backwards towards Rattler while he was running for his life. The fact that he was playing as well as he played, put up the numbers he put up with that much pressure coming from around him, Emily, I think has got to give you hope that there is still light in this tunnel, but that light comes from, can we protect Spencer Rattler? Can we keep him upright and clean? And can we give him room to put up those numbers from a clean pocket, especially if we're not getting the development out of the wide receiver core we were hoping to?
Yeah, I am all in on a Spencer Rattler bounce back year. I thought he looked phenomenal against North Carolina. And I mean, even when you look at the sacks, I think last year it wasn't uncommon for some of the sack problems to be on his shoulders. And I mean, I think Beamer said he would have attributed maybe one of those to Rattler just not getting the ball out quick enough. And I think I said the same thing watching it live. I mean, even the ones that maybe were his fault, I think it was hard to blame him for, because at that point in the game, like you said, he's literally running for his life. I mean, 9 sacks is pretty wild. And for him to, not only stay on his feet, stay in the game, but, continue playing really well and making plays at the end of the game there. I mean, it just was really impressive. And I think it was a very different version of him than the one that we saw, against Georgia State last year. I mean, when you look at those 2 performances back to back, it's a new guy. And so I think, if they can get that offense going, if they can get enough protection to let him go off, I think they have the potential to be really good and to pick up some wins in some of these tough late season games that they have. But, there's only so much you can do when you're getting hit on every other play.
Talk to me, last one, about the wide receiver core, and I'm going to start with, I heard the story, I heard the anecdote. I know you quoted Shane as saying, Luke Doty's just too good of an athlete not to have out there. But I'm sorry, it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to go, that's just, Coach Speak, you're not going to convince me that a wide receiver core that is not only placing into the game your backup quarterback, but is doing so in pivotal situations. It just feels to me, Emily, like I don't know if it wasn't built, if there are too many injuries there or whatever, but this wide receiver group, or lack thereof, kind of feels like it could be a bit of a problem for the Gamecocks, especially when they go up against teams like Georgia that have got depth in the secondary.
Yeah, it's a little bit strange, because I think we came into the season thinking that the receiver group was going to be one of the deepest ones. I mean, you've got 3 returning seniors who are kind of the clear starters there, but, Juice Wells obviously been dealing with the injury. Amarian Brown left last week's game with a bit of a rib issue. He should be, fine. Both of those guys should be fine this week, but they're clearly a little bit banged up. Xavier Legette obviously kind of looks poised for a breakout year, but outside of him, we heard a lot about O'Donnell Fortune and Nick Harbor preseason. And I don't know if, again, this was the case of, Shane not wanting to throw the young guys into that North Carolina game, in prime time in an NFL stadium. But, again, I think against Furman, if we don't see some of those guys take significant reps, that's when it starts, I think, to become a concern that they just don't have anybody ready behind those senior guys. And Luke Doty played great on Saturday. He looked really good at wide receiver, but I'm surprised that they feel like they need him there, because, I mean, just looking at the personnel in that room, they shouldn't. And so that is kind of a bad sign that there's something's going on behind the scenes there.
Nope, I thought the exact same thing. Emily Adams from the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Emily, let's look ahead to this Saturday's game against the Furman Paladins. I was, in stark contrast to the disappointment about the Luke Doty comments, very impressed by what Shane Beamer had to say against or about the Furman Paladins. He said, look, if you think this is a catch-your-breath game, you don't know ball. This is a hell of a football team. And as somebody who covers them and works with them very closely, I can tell you, Emily, that this Furman team, especially with the confidence that they built from last year at Clemson, where they forced Clemson's starters to be in the game until the fourth quarter and actually put up more yards than Clemson did, they're hungry. And after what they saw last week, this Furman team genuinely believes their quarterback said, hey, look, it's an uphill task. We know this is not just any given game, but we feel like we've got the talent and we feel like we've got the aggression to go in there and shock the world a little bit. Clay Hendricks' team is very physical, very aggressive, and right now, Emily, very confident. So what do you think we need to see out of the Gamecocks, or what would you want to see out of the Gamecocks in order to say they had a successful bounce-back weekend against the Furman Paladins?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's honestly, that's what's so odd about that North Carolina game is so many of the things that they did well were the things that you wanted to see them do well. You wanted to see them not have turnovers. You wanted to see Rattler look improved. I think the big change from last week, especially on the defensive side, is going to be that run defense. Obviously, with Tyler Huff's sort of dual threat ability. And then Furman, has a pretty solid running back core as well. And I think, if they let that get going the way that they did against North Carolina, that could become a problem for them quickly. And then I think with the O-line, that's the biggest one for me is it needs to be, if Rattler's going to get sacked, it needs to be like twice at most. Even if the protection isn't that much better, they need to keep him from getting hit. That's kind of the number one priority to me of the thing that needs to be fixed. You cannot let your elite quarterback get hit 9 times in a game by an average defensive line. It's just not, he's not going to survive against Georgia or Tennessee or Kentucky even, so I think that those are the two keys for me is I want to see the run defense get better and I want to see the protection actually protect Rattler better. If the run game still isn't working, if the secondary is still figuring things out, I think those are things that can come with time, but those two are the ones that need to get better right now.
Emily, last one before we let you go and head off into the football weekend. What has been just overall the mood of this coaching staff? Because I told people last week going into that game, hey, don't be shocked even if South Carolina plays a good game, they lose this game. This is a good North Carolina team. I've been arguing for a while. I think the ACC is about to have the best year of all that conference has maybe ever had, and North Carolina with Drake May is a big part of the reason. I said it is not that the Gamecocks lost that is disappointing. It is how the Gamecocks lost that is disappointing. So what's the overall mood right now around the team? Is it hey, we're just ready to get back out there, do it again, line it up, go beat a team we should beat? Is there some hesitance as they try to figure out what can be done better this week? Just what's the overall temperament of the coaching staff and the football program as a whole right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought Dow Loggins actually gave some very good insight into that when he spoke on Wednesday. I think it seems good, frankly. I think there's less defensiveness, I think, than I saw last year after that Georgia State game, which they won, but played pretty badly in. And there was a lot of we still won the game. And so I think, having lost to North Carolina, they've approached that very intelligently this week of acknowledging that was bad and that it wasn't what they expected. It wasn't what, they were selling during preseason. And I do think there was a lot of surprise inside the building that it was as bad as it was last weekend. And so I think they've taken that very seriously. We heard Shane say during week 1 that he wasn't happy with their Tuesday practice, came in this week, said it was, totally different, high energy, really physical. And so I think even just like little things like that are important. I think it will hopefully be a wake-up call for them. I think, you saw that from Loggins, you saw that from the coaching staff. And as long as that trickles down to the players, I think they're in a decent spot morale-wise heading into a game like Furman.
Emily Adams covers South Carolina athletics for the Greenville News. Of course, you can find her on the social media at EAAdams6. A phenomenal follow, especially on game day. Emily, it is so good to have you back. I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you next week, young lady.
Absolutely. Good to be back. Thanks, Rob.
You got it. That is Emily Adams from the Greenville News again at EAAdams6. Let's take a break. We come back. We'll wrap up hour number 1 and hour number 2. No, when we come back, we're actually going to push the Moving the Chains fellas to the top of the next hour. So when we come back, we'll run through a couple of picks for the weekend. Double Talk high school football out of the break. And then the back half of hour number 3 is all football picks for the weekend on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Upstate.
The sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Welcome to the Fan.
Upstate.
CBS Sports Radio.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the sports flash on the Fan Upstate. The Panthers open up the NFL season this Sunday on the road at Atlanta. Adam Thielen and DJ Chark were held out of practice on Thursday. That means Bryce Young could be down his 2 top receivers in his NFL debut. The number 25 Clemson Tigers will look to bounce back from a season-opening loss against Duke. They'll take on Charleston Southern this Saturday afternoon. The Tigers slid from number 9 to number 25 of the AP Top 25 after losing 28-7 a week ago. The South Carolina Gamecocks play host to the Furman Paladins Saturday night. Furman beat Tennessee Tech 45-10 last week. The Paladins are ranked 6th in the FCS poll. The teams haven't met since 2014 when South Carolina scored a 41-10 win. The Gamecocks lost their season opener 31-17 at home against number 17 North Carolina last week. Classic Rock 101.1 is your home for Carolina Panthers play-by-play all season long. Download the Odyssey app.
We'll be right back, guys.
Update and listen
Hang
anywhere.
tight.
Great talk. Let's take a moment to appreciate our sweet children, loving grandparents, and eternal soulmates. Now let's use them to save money on wireless. 4 lines for just $25 a month with unlimited data.
All right.
So add those human pawns, loved ones, and save money. Thanks, kids. They're finally worth it.
Jim Gaffigan. I like Jim Gaffigan. He's got some good stuff. His last couple of specials haven't been quite as good.
I'm surprised you like Gaffigan.
I love Gaffigan.
Because he's a kids are a big part of his stand-up, right?
Listen, for the record, I am down with a comedian. They can be clean, they can be dirty, they can be vulgar, they can be family friendly. If they're funny, they're funny. Gaffigan, very funny. Like I said, I think his last couple of efforts have been a little lackluster. I think he's kind of fallen off a little bit. But that might very well be because as his kids get older and they are such a big part of his story, it's a little less familiar for me. Like it doesn't resonate with me as much.
When he gets to his, material when he's a grandpa, then I'll start listening. I don't know when I stopped watching stand-up comedy because I used to do that a bunch when I was younger and actually went to a couple places. I won't go to a live place because if there's a comedian on stage, if they still do the, pick someone in the audience to make fun of, I'm the guy it's going to be no matter what. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to subject myself to that.
Oh, I as the extrovert of the crew, I love when they go to me, mainly because I'm going to try to fire. I'm going to try to rip back. I'm going to try to be funnier than that guy.
See, that's the thing. I don't think I could not respond. And, they're up there trying to make a living. I don't want to, get them booed off the stage because I'm better than them.
I will not heckle. Right? Even if you're bad, even if I don't like you, I will not heckle because I actually tried my hand at stand-up comedy at some open mic nights back in Florida years ago, and it went okay. It went okay. And I know from experience now what it's like to tell a joke and have that joke fall flat and have a room full of people just staring at you silently when you thought you nailed something. It is one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced in my life. I will not heckle, but if you call on me and if you start interacting with me and inviting me to be a part of the show, yes, I will absolutely try to be as funny as the comedian.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
All right, thanks again to Emily. Thanks to Emily Adams of the Greenville News for joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. We have breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Be a better, be smarter, beat the books. And don't forget to listen to Bet for the Cycle every Saturday from noon to 4 with Cody Decker and me as we give you baseball talk all Saturday. What do we got, Zoe?
The United States has been eliminated from the FIBA World Cup after falling to Germany 113-111 in the semifinals.
I was, as a matter of fact, watching that game on the tablet here to my right just a minute ago. Here's the thing. If this happens 7 or 8 years ago, right? If this happened 7 or 8 years ago, I am on the air right now going, what an embarrassment. I'm calling for heads. Everybody who is on this coaching staff from Kerr down needs to go. We got to retool the whole thing. But the reality is basketball is a world's game now, all right? It is not a game where it is America and everybody else like it used to be. It is very much like tennis. It is very much like golf. It is very much like football. It is a game that has been accepted. It's still our game. We made it. We created it. We excel at it. But the rest of the world has embraced basketball. It is a game that there are successful professional leagues now in Japan, in China, in Israel, in Spain, in Germany, in Deutschland, the team that just beat us. So it kind of is what it is at this point. The rest of the world is caught up. We should still be competitive in every tournament that we play in. But I was watching this game. Germany was a more technically sound team. I think one of the things that is going to have to be fixed about our United States men's national basketball program is we still play very individualistic basketball. We still play very much, those guys think they're the dream team. They think they can go out there and they think they can craft a lot of one-on-one scenarios and just out-athlete everybody that we play, but not the case anymore.
Wait. Hold on. You are trying to say that basketball is a team sport and not an individual sport, and that just doesn't sound right to me.
A lot of people, when it comes to the international game, do feel that way. That it's international or it's individual. It's not anymore now. It's genuinely not.
Should it ever have been?
No, but I mean, listen, when you have the best players in the world on your team, you utilize the team to set up the opportunity for them to excel individually, right? If you've got a Jordan on your team, you use the Pippins and the Kukocs to set up a world where Michael Jordan can play individual basketball. If you got a Steph Curry on your team, you use the team to set up an offense that is an interior offense primarily so that you can get Steph Curry shots on the outside. If you've got a LeBron James on your team, you utilize your offense to set up mismatches for LeBron. Unfortunately, when it comes to FIBA games and our international team, I think it's more whoever gets the ball, go do your one-on-one thing because you're an NBA player. You're the best in the world. And when you've got other players that are now NBA quality but are playing for these other international teams in FIBA competition, more often than not, our NBA guys are lined up against other NBA guys. Disappointing loss, disappointing result. The U.S. will now play in the bronze medal game of the FIBA Basketball World Cup. It is disappointing. It is a bummer. But, hey, we have got to figure out how to be exceptional again if we want to get back to the gold medal matches of these types of events. Kevin and John from Moving the Change join us next to talk high school football around the state on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
Join the debate and let your voice be heard on our show. This is the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Andrew Bogish.
Good call on making that breaking news.
Yeah, I know.
Sports Flag.
I don't need your acknowledgement.
Dropped from Kadarius Toney last night at
It was
Arrowhead.
more
One of them became a
complimentary than acknowledging,
50-yard
but I
pick
get it.
six shortly after halftime. The last one.
So
Lonzo doesn't know how to take compliments.
your compliment is implying that, finally I made a good choice on the breaking news. And, I am here for your compliments, Rob Brown. Thank you so much, and I will cherish it.
Lonzo.
Hi.
Hi. Mahomes didn't have Travis Kelce.
When my fiance comes out of the room and I tell her that I think she looks wonderful tonight,
Chris Jones, so the Lions got a 21
is that implying that I don't think she looks beautiful every other day, or is that just saying that right now you are shining?
And the Chiefs
I hope she turns around and says, "Don't you be dropping lyrics on me, Rob Brown." That's what I hope she does.
She's no different than the show. If I can stay it in a lyric, I do.
Nobody knows. It's reportedly a 5-year extension that would make Burrow the highest paid player ever.
More proof that we are actually Bill and Ted. But anyway.
USA basketball just knocked out of the FIBA World
Excellent.
Cup
All right, so
Germany,
the things about to happen that I was concerned about and brought engineering in here earlier. So
I'm Andrew Bogish.
Hey, it's Amy Lawrence.
Well, it's either going to work or it's not at this
Sports
point, I
Radio
guess.
at home. Just ask
Do what?
Alexa
Said it's either
play
going to work or it's
CBS
not.
yeah, that's true. I'm gonna try some.
So
yeah, that's yes.
I'm Ty Burrell, actor and small business owner. I'm going to show you my 5 steps.
Yeah,
for
I just
making
realized
perfect
why. It is
radio ad.
because
this one's about
their mics are going to be going both on StreamYard to your computer, and then from your computer to my Comrex, and then from my Comrex also back to StreamYard.
It is a vicious cycle. Chris had a solution, but we didn't have time to tell you about it.
I'm gonna tell them both to call in.
Okay. That's the first thing I tried to fix this morning, by the way, because I thought about our problems. If I was a geek, I would have figured it out, but since I'm a nerd, I need help.
All right, hang on, guys. I'm gonna call Kevin, and we'll be right back. Lonzo and I have just been informed that the quarterback for Boiling Springs High School is named Lincoln Husky. That's a hell of a name.
Please let him be a sturdy fellow.
Let him be Jared Lorenzen.
Yes. Still no John.
Okay. Just give me the old hand signal when he comes on.
Or you can just go with Kevin, and when John gets in, I'll just anyway, whatever.
Yeah. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes right now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is the Fan Upstate. Great to have you. I am Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo on the ones and twos today. It's time to talk a little high school football as we welcome in the fellas from the Moving the Chains podcast. Kevin Thomas, John Epps. We got Kevin on the phone right now. John will be on here hopefully in just a minute. If he can figure out how to work his phone. We've had a struggle with that this year. But Kev's here. Kevin Thomas from the Moving the Chains podcast, which you can find at movingchains.com. No G in that. The same handle for Facebook, for Twitter, for Instagram, and when you search their podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcast. Kev, what's up, fella?
Rob, I know I have heard I've got a voice for radio, but or face for radio, but I didn't know you just completely, take me off the show like this. But here we are.
It's listen. Here's the reality. The reality is, I am at home this week, and we had Captain America Chris Evans down the hall in the studio this morning to fix it to where we could have you on the stream and not have an echo. But Rob was sitting on his couch watching replays of football games when he looked out at the clock and realized it was 8:50, and then the computer restarted. Long story short, it's my fault. I'm going to take the heat on this one, buddy. It is what it is. So,
no worries, man. Happy to be here.
Let's get into some football, my guy, and let us open up with a game I'll be on the call for tonight. The Greer Yellow Jackets at home. They will be hosting the Burns Rebels. We'll have that game for you live right here on the Fan Upstate. Pregame at 7, kickoff at 7:30. I'll be on play-by-play. Lane Fowler on color and Sam Clark roaming the sidelines for us. The Rebs last week, man. I mean, I feel like I can talk about this team, but I'd rather you do it because we got you on the show, so why not? 37-14 win over Greenville, and it was a showcase of the offense, which I think is what the Rebels have kind of been waiting for. The defense at Chapman in the one loss they have this year at 2-1 was good enough to win that game, just not as much offensive support as they would have liked. Last week when the Rebels got into the red zone, they turned it into points. You got to do it a couple times in a row for me to say, okay, this is the identity of this team, but you got to do it once to do it multiple times.
Exactly right, Rob. We were looking for better quarterback play, better offensive play, and the Rebels got both of those last week. Segura, another big game. Stevens, a big game. Bomar and Weaver got loose a couple times there. Greer on the flip side, they've got some talent. Running back Ladanian Martin, he has missed a couple games this year. Not sure if he's back yet or not tonight, but he is a stud. Wide receiver Chase Bird's a really good player. But what I'm looking for, Burns has more talent. They got more depth. They should win this ball game. I'm looking for more some consistency. You look back at week 0, Burns big win over Huff. They come back in week 1, kind of lay an egg against Chapman. I want to see them do it 2 weeks in a row. They certainly got the talent to win this ball game by a wide margin, and I hope that they do that and kind of show us that, hey, we're legit, we're here. And, maybe they're over some of those early season struggles they had a couple weeks back.
Yeah, I'm intrigued in this one because not only has Greer been missing a couple of their big players, but it's primarily on offense. To me, this game for the Rebels is 100%. Let's go out there and do what we do on offense last year. Let's make sure that we are keeping Weaver and Bomar engaged and involved. Let's let Trey Segura get his fourth consecutive 100-yard game. Let's turn these guys loose offensively and let the playmakers make plays. And if Burns does that, based on what we've seen out of Dorman, out of Gaffney, out of Boiling Springs, all it's going to tell me is that this region is a horse race that's wide open.
Yeah, I mean, always stacked. And we think that Bowling Springs team, we're actually going to go see them tonight in one of our other big games here at Hillcrest. But, I mean, there is so much talent there. Gaffney seems to be playing better. Big win last week. Dorman maybe down a tick from in the past. We'll see. Spartanburg a couple big wins already. But, yeah, that one's going to be it's one of those reasons where you hate to see somebody not make the playoffs. But there's going to be a team that, when you get swept out, that's a very good squad.
Talk to me a little bit about Boiling Springs at Hillcrest. This game looks like it would be interesting. That same Chapman Panther team that beat Burns last week fell 29-7 to Boiling Springs. Aside from having our favorite named quarterback, Lincoln Husky, my dude's got 9 TDs on the season. Ryshaw Morgan, 130 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns last week. Talk to me a little bit about this game this evening, because Hillcrest, a team that Burns had a battle with last year, does not seem to be that same squad this year, but it is early in the season. What do you think?
Yeah, Bowling Springs is very intriguing to me. They lost a tough game week 0 to TL Hanna, came back and blew out Malden, and then had a nice win over Chapman last week as well. That offense is starting to roll behind Husky and Morgan. Those guys, year 2 under Coach Reel, a guy that has got it done all across the state. Took North Point Beach to a state title game a couple of years back. A lot of good experience. They've got a lot of interesting pieces there. And Hillcrest, started the season, they're 3-0. They haven't played maybe the best competition yet, but they've got a lot of talent. Avery McFadden, you saw him last year, Rob, one of the better players in the state, an electric playmaker there for them out wide and in the return game. Running back Thomas Stanley is a violent runner. I like him a lot. And then a new quarterback, transfer Caleb Sutton, a dual threat guy coming over from Easley. Has not played his best ball yet, I think, but he is, playing consistently for them. This is a good test for both teams. I think, both these teams are sneaking up the 5A polls, and one of them, I think, really wants to announce their presence of, hey, we're here, we're for real in 5A. Which one it's going to be? I think it's Hillcrest at home here tonight, Rob, but this is a very intriguing ball game, and the one that John Drill and I will actually be in attendance at.
Very nice. Let's move on to Abbeville. Is hosting West Side tonight. West Side with a 42-30 win over TL Hanna last week. Abbeville with a squeaker 22-21 win over Southside Christian. And this one looks like another one that it might be determined by skill position players on offense.
This is a very interesting contrast of styles, but I'm thinking we're going to see a lot of points. West Side, year 1 under Coach Brian Lane, they like to spread it out, throw it over the field. Cutter Woods, the quarterback, has got some Power 5 offers already. He is a really good gunslinger back there. Wide receivers, Josh Williams and the Robertson kid are playing well. Jamar Boston is out with an injury. He just committed to NC State this week. He'll actually play in defense only. He's got a cast on his hand right now, but they're putting up big numbers. Abbeville runs more of that old school. They call it, I think, the A-bone or whatever you want to call it. It's a run-heavy offense there with a couple running backs getting a lot of touches there. But they've been trailing a lot early in games and coming back in the second half. I think if you fall behind the West Side in that high-powered offense, you won't be able to come back. But I think both teams are going to have a problem stopping the other. I like West Side in a close one, but in a shootout down on the road this week.
Let's move on to a few more. Wren as at TL Hanna. We mentioned TL Hanna. They fell to West Side 42-30 last week, but they do get to head back to the house to take on the Wren Golden Hurricanes.
This is a really intriguing ball game. Wren lost a couple weeks back to Sammy Brown and Jefferson out of Georgia, the Clemson commit there. They played a tough ball game. Then last week they come back and they blow out Seneca, put up 40-plus points. The Bobcats had not allowed a point in their first 2 contests. So Wren's offense really kind of broke the mold there. TL Hanna has been kind of an enigma. They beat a good Bowling Springs team week 0. They beat Greenville by a couple scores there in week 1. They turn around and lose by a couple scores to the West Side last week. So they're kind of hard to figure out. I think Wren, being a little bit bigger school, a little more depth, I think they win this one, but that should be a fun ball game there in Anderson County.
That one's going to be interesting. I'm intrigued by this Wren team, Kev, for a couple of reasons. I mean, they've got some talent there, but also just the setup of this team. It's a smaller school. I certainly don't mean this disrespectfully, but facilities-wise, it is not the most privileged school I've seen in the past. The stadium is kind of just the old school portable bleachers next to a field, but it seems like every year this Wren Golden Hurricane team is one that finds a couple of playmakers and gives some folks some headaches here and there.
No doubt about it. This is a team that I believe won state, and I think it was 2019 before the COVID year there. when Coach Jeff Tate was still there. He's now retired and then actually moved down to the coast now. But, Coach Anthony Freight coming over from Hillcrest. This is his first year there. He did a lot of good things there with the Rams. We had him on in the offseason kind of as a new coaches series with him, and he told us, we've got some talent. There's some young guys here, so it may take a year or two to get back to that level they want to be at. But that's the area, and Rob, just from living in the upstate, that Piedmont kind of Wren, high school where they're located, that's a growing area. There's going to be athletes there, probably a few now, and probably a few more coming here in the next few years as well, because that part of the upstate continues to grow. But Wren's always a headache for a lot of folks. They've got a pretty good offense. I don't know if it's enough for this week's game, but they do have some talent there for sure.
Kevin Thomas from the Moving the Chains podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Easily at JL Man, Kevin.
Easily was going to be a lot better before they lost quarterback Caleb Sutton to Hillcrest. They still have some talent there on their squad, but I don't think it's enough to get up for JL Man. We talk about every week how good that offense is with McClellan and Anderson and Obadiah Jones and that crew. JL Man is a sneaky team in 5A. I think they finally got into the prep poll this week at maybe like number 10. And I think they might be a little better than that, Rob. They can put up a lot of points. And this is 2 years in a row they've been doing this, so it's not like a kind of a flash in the pan type deal. They've got some real playmakers. I think they win this game at home probably by maybe 3 or 4 scores.
Let's talk a little bit about Greenville. They host Malden. Of course, Greenville last week took the L on the road at Burns, but they did lose Mazio Bennett very early in that game. The South Carolina commit was taken to the hospital for evaluation. From what I understand, it was more precautionary than it was anything serious, but it changed the dynamic of that offense for Greenville. What do they look like this week on the return home?
I've not seen if Mazio's back or not. I know he was cleared and everything, but I don't know if he's able to play this week. This is a team that needs to win. They're coming off back-to-back losses here. They should be able to get one. This Malden team is not one of the better ones that they've had in the last couple of years. Coach Cook in his first year has got some rebuilding to do there for sure for the Mavericks. But I think Greenville gets this win. I don't know if Bennett's there or not, but I think if they can trust Sherman in the run game, get a couple of explosive plays out wide from some other guys, I think they'll be fine. But Greenville, they're going to be good. They always play a very tough schedule. That's one thing that Coach Porter likes to do. They play a bunch of 4 and 5A schools to get them ready for the region play in the playoffs. And I think they win tonight for sure.
Let's talk about another one of the opponents, the Rebels. We'll see down the road. Spartanburg hosting a game, but they're bringing in a team out of Georgia called Grayson High School. What do we know about Grayson, and what's this game shape up to look like for the Vikings?
This was probably going to get ugly, Rob. Grayson is very good. They beat a good Fort Dorchester team out of South Carolina in the Low Country last week. I think it was 42-0 or something like that. The Grayson Rams are one of the premier programs in Georgia, if not the country. And in Spartanburg, they started out. They're 2-1. They're one loss at South Point in week 0. But I'm a little worried about that offense. They beat Dutch Fork. I think they scored 10 points on offense, something like that. They scored 10 the first week. They scored 14 last week over a 3A Broom squad. I like the defense a lot for the Vikings. I'm a little worried about the offensive side of the ball. They got to figure something out there. And this is not the week to have those issues. This is probably going to get out of hand. I tell everybody when SC school plays somebody from another state, I'm always pulling for the South Carolina squad. But this is going to be an uphill battle for sure.
Without a doubt. All right, a couple more before we let you go. Seneca is at St. Joseph's tonight.
A 3A going down to a 1A. St. Joe's won this ball game last year, the private school here in Greenville. Seneca's a pretty good team. They've had a really good defensive showings until last week, like I mentioned earlier. I think St. Joe's wins this one. They're a really good 1A team. They went deep in the playoffs last year before losing to Christchurch, I believe it was. I think St. Joe's wins this one at home.
And Woodmont at TR.
Woodmont's a sneaky team to look out for. They've got a couple running backs, I think, already up around 500 yards total for the season here just through 3 games. The quarterback, Jordan Sink, is slinging all over the yard. He's a playmaker. Remember him from the Greenville days last year. Played some for them early in the year. He's got it going offensively. Travelers Rest, they had a nice win a couple weeks ago. They kind of gave one away last week late to Palmetto. I think the Wildcats win again, and they're going to make some noise down the road here.
Kevin Thomas is from the Moving the Chains podcast. Their website, movingchains.com. You can find them on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram at the same handle. And their podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. They follow high school football around the entire state of South Carolina. And if you have not jumped in on one yet, on Friday nights as the games start going final, they host a Twitter Spaces. That is a blast. They have coaches and players from around the state of South Carolina jump on. They have very, very handsome play-by-play guys who stop by to give you thoughts on the games that they just got done calling. And, Kev, man, those things are so great to keep everybody up to date on what's happening.
Man, I really enjoy it because, obviously you can read a quick blurb online or a quick blurb in a newspaper about what happened in a game, but you still don't get as much as you get if somebody actually tells you about it. So it's great to have folks and fans from all across the state calling in and giving them their 2-minute synopsis of the ball game they were at. It's a lot fun. It's a lot easier to learn about the teams and a lot more fun to hear about it that way for sure.
No doubt about it. So if you're not already following them on Twitter, make sure you do by going to twitter.com and then finding them at Moving Chains. Kev, my man, appreciate it. I know it's going to be a good night of football, big dog.
No doubt, man. We'll catch up with you later, all right?
You got it. That is Kevin Thomas from the Moving the Chains podcast. We appreciate him joining us every week. And next week when we're back in studio, we will have them on the stream because I know you all miss seeing Kevin's beautiful shining face. So, thanks to Kevin, and absolutely no thanks at all to John, who just couldn't figure it out for some reason or the next.
Why are you so mean to John, man? I mean,
I love John. He's the best.
Yeah, I mean,
you know why I'm mean to John? Because I like John, Lonzo. I am only mean to people that I A, like, and B, am not afraid of.
Okay. All right.
That's it. That's the reason. Let's take a break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we take a look up and down the schedule of college football in week numero dos. We give you some picks that we like. We give you some games you can't miss, and we do it when we come back. I am Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo's at the helm, and you're listening, ladies and gentlemen, to The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Dispensing real
I remember the commercials this time, Steven. Are you happy?
All right. I'm going to go grab me a water. I'll be right back.
Starting to come to the realization that for the first time all week, I can leave on time today. Yay! Excited about that. I've got some video games to research for work that I've got to do. Really do. I mean, you know. Here's the thing, Stephen. I think it would be funny that if you don't mention it, but I don't think you want to be that guy. So, and you were already going to do that anyway. You're already going to send them. You don't want to be that guy. There's the fact that also I may benefit from the fact that you're sending something here. So, I mean, you know, there could be that too. It could factor into my way of thought. I like how for almost the entire show, all we see of your shirt is green.
Ugh. Yeah, it does. I wore it yesterday. I did a hit on BetMGM Tonight last night, and I wore this because it was cleaning on the couch. I don't wear multiple shirts or wear a shirt multiple days in a row. Anyway,
It didn't work. It was a nice try, though.
Yeah, I tried to save myself. I put it on last night. Honestly, I put it on last night because I was wearing when the fiance got home and we were getting set up. We didn't do ribs last night because by the time that she got home, it was just too late to start them. So we did a Kansas City style barbecue chicken. But then as we were making them, she was like, "What if we made Kansas City style barbecue chicken nachos?" We did.
There
that,
you go.
And they were freaking delicious.
There you go. I mean, turning something into a nacho is just, it's awesome.
It's an elite choice. So I made the chicken in the slow cooker, and then I put some black beans. We got a vegetable garden, so we went and pulled a bunch of tomatoes out of the garden, put fresh garden tomatoes on there, and then some sweet corn.
I hate slow cookers, by the way. I hate them.
Love how I hate it slow cooker.
No, because you're hungry all day. I mean, you're waiting for the food to get ready, and you smell food, nothing but food the entire time.
I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I love my slow cooker. My slow cooker and my air fryer are in use almost daily at my house. Anyway, so we made the nachos, and I put this on because I was wearing a sleeveless shirt when she got home, and so I put this on when she got home.
Oh, the gun show.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. So threw this on, and then the BetMGM guys were like, "Hey, can you come on and talk some college ball with us?" I said, "Yes." So I went on, and I had the exact same setup. So I was sitting like this, and right before we got on the air, Trista, who is one of the three hosts, she goes, "Are you just like a really big fan of the color, or?" And I was like, "What are you talking about, Trista?" And she's like, "Your shirt just says green." And I was like, "Oh, no, it says Greenville." And she said, "Oh, but yeah, for like a minute, apparently the three hosts of the show honestly thought I was just a huge fan of the color green."
Yeah, because it says green and it's on a green shirt.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know.
In fairness, the concept of a color shirt that just has the name of the color across the front is hilarious. Only funnier would be a green shirt that said like red across the front, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't find an orange shirt that said orange funny, but that's just me. I don't like the color.
We had no idea, Alonzo. You've never expressed that yet.
Getting the game on the Rob.
You're welcome for that wow moment.
Let's take a look up and down the college football weekend schedule, ladies and gentlemen. Did I start talking too fast, Alonzo?
It's not your fault. It's my fault. I'm a little bit behind, but yeah, you did. But that's fine.
Let's take a look up and down the college football weekend schedule, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Because tomorrow is week number 2 of the college football schedule. We'll kick off at 11 a.m. We got Vandy and Wake Forest. Yes, Lonzo. Pardon me. Excellent timing.
Yeah, that really good matchup right there just choked Rob up. He's like, man, he cannot wait for this game.
What is more exhilarating than a good old-fashioned ACC-SEC matchup like Vandy versus Wake, man? In fairness, we can make all the jokes we want, great one, but considering that the rest of the games don't start until noon, I'm 100% going to be watching this. 100% going to be watching it.
So you're going to watch it for a half hour?
No, I'm going to watch it for a full hour because the next games don't start until noon. Actually, I'll probably stick with it longer than that because there's a couple of okay noon games.
So you would rather watch that than watch Game Day or Big Noon Saturday or one of those things.
Oh, wait a minute. I want to talk football, but this is more important. Did you see the clip of Urban Meyer going around after last Saturday?
I did not, but you're taking great joy in it.
So much, man.
The smile on your face.
Despite what happened in Jacksonville, that ultimately got Urban Meyer fired and made him officially the worst NFL coach in the history of NFL coaches. Herb, of course, got into a little bit of hot water because Urban Meyer is very married. Yeah. And during his time in the butthole of America, Jacksonville, Florida, as the head coach of its football team, Herb got in trouble because there were some pictures and videos that went around.
By the way, he flew back he stayed in Ohio. That actually occurred in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because it happened in his bar. That's right.
Yeah.
So he was back in Ohio. Oh, that was the guy. That was the time that the Jags lost the game, and then he put the team on the flight back to Jacksonville, and he just stayed in Ohio for a little while.
He had business to attend to.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so he got in trouble because there was his daughter's age blonde girl like twerking on the lap, and he was like putting hands on thighs and what. It was very, very creepy. Well, Herb, this past Saturday, they were coming back on Big Noon Saturday from a break, and they, much like game day, they do the big sweeping crowd shot where the camera shows the crowd behind them, and then it zooms in onto the stage where the host of that segment are. Well, the camera did the sweep shot, Lonzo, and standing off to the side of the Big Noon Saturday stage was definitively Urban Meyer, definitively relaxed, and talking to a young, scantily clad college-age girl. And it wasn't like it looked like a conversation where he was like, well, yes, I'm very proud of you for having your broadcast major. Herb had his cool guy stance on, like the loose, chill demeanor,
so if
the jacket off, and he's like, hey, how you doing?
If Urban wasn't married and he was someone other than Urban Meyer, would you have a problem with it?
As an individual instance, no, right? What have I always said about Tiger Woods? What is the one mistake Tiger Woods made? Getting married. Outside, if Tiger wasn't married, and again, even in that, because I personally know people who are married, but within their relationship of two consenting adults are both fine if the other person engages in physical activity with other consenting adults. Like, it's the concept of an open marriage. That's a concept that some people are totally fine with. I wouldn't have an issue with that. Except for that's not the case. Right? Or at least not according to Miss Shelley, it's not the case, A. And B, it is yet another instance of Urban taking away from his job that he's paid a lot of money to do to hit on college-age girls. Even if I'm good with everything, my dude, you're in your 50s, and that girl was at the best. I'm going to give her credit for being 21.
All right, I am not trying to defend him. I just have a question. How do you know he was hitting on her? Maybe he was just having a discussion.
I'm gonna send you the video, and
Maybe she came and asked him a question about the upcoming game and schemes and things like that. And she knew that he was a championship coach, and he might be able to break some things down for her.
Definitely in her white knee-high boots, her Daisy Dukes, her belly shirt. Yeah, I'm sure
you can be. There are fans of all shapes, sizes, and makes of clothes. I don't. Yeah, I mean,
definitely. It's much like.
See, I think if it wasn't Urban, you'd be wondering, how does this old man get hit on by so many nice-looking young women?
Oh, listen, don't get me wrong. If Herb was A, unmarried, and B, good at his job, right? If Urban Meyer went to Jacksonville and that team 2 years ago was like 13-4 and in the playoffs, I'd be like, go on, young man. Go on, young man.
He's a pretty good college football coach and not a bad analyst either. But
by the way, the one thing I did not give Herb crap for was when Herb was on Fox a couple of years ago on his yacht, and you had dude ripping the fattest bong rip of all time in the background, and Herb's like, I don't care about that, because I don't care if adults smoke weed. It's your life. Live your best one. I don't really care. This kind of crap.
By the way, Keegan, I think that's Matthew McConaughey, but I could be wrong.
All right. You now have both. You have the video clip now from both Keegan and I in your Twitter DM box. If you would like to take a look, and
I got nothing, so I'm waiting.
Tell me that the pose that Urban has on the side of Big Noon Saturday stage is it? He's got the hand on the rail. He's leaning on the rail. He's got the other hand on the hip. He's like doing the cool beard rub. That dude.
All right, so that is so brief. It really is. I mean, it's like boom, there it is, and it's gone.
Lonzo, as the old phrase goes, a GIF is worth 1,000 words. All right, it just is.
All right, I get. Again, I'm not defending him. I just think I'm just curious. I mean, if you're out at a establishment and you see an old man who's got game, and he's not Urban Meyer, who you don't like, you would probably look at him and go, "Man, that's my dog right there."
Teach me the ways, you Jedi Master. Yes,
exactly.
But it's not a random old guy. It's Urban Meyer. All right, let's get to some of these games. Wake and
Wake. Sounds like bacon.
Vanderbilt and Wake Forest. We'll get it on at 11 a.m. And I am kind of interested in that game. I'm going to watch that game. Notre Dame, NC State is probably the noon game that I am the second most interested in. Notre Dame gets an opportunity to prove this weekend that their offense is for real. And ladies and gentlemen, I believe that it is. I told you preseason, I thought Sam Hartman was going to be a sneaky good pick. Right now, you can pick him up on the Heisman odds at 20-1. And I think he's a sneaky good pick as a 20-1 Heisman opportunity. Because I think this weekend at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh against a good Dave Doran NC State defense, I think Sam Hartman is going to put on the show. Give me Notre Dame to cover in this one. But the game at noon that I think all of us are intrigued by, I do not know why this game is at noon, Lonzo. Nebraska at Colorado. Matt Rule takes his Huskers to play Coach Prime's Buffaloes, and everybody's tuned in. I have taken the Buffs -3 in this one. So the opportunity for the push is there for me. I think Colorado is going to put about 35 on Nebraska. But Colorado's defense, as they showed last weekend, despite having Travis Hunter, a two-way player, is bad. It's a bad defense. They let a TCU offense that does not have Max Duggan, that does not have Kendre Miller, and that does not have Garrett Riley at its helm, put up over 40 points on them. I don't know if Nebraska is as good as TCU offensively, but we're going to find out this weekend. Nebraska's at Colorado, out at Folsom Field in Boulder at noon. I know your Ohio State Buckeyes are playing at noon, but they're playing Youngstown State University, Lonzo. So if you only got to pick one, are you going with Coach Prime versus OOU Matt Rule, or are you going with your Buckeyes hanging 70 on Youngstown State?
I got this thing called a DVR. So I can DVR one and watch the other and then watch them both eventually. If I'm watching one live, I'm going to watch Ohio State for two reasons. One, because the quarterback position still isn't solidified, and I want to see if someone stands out in that. It's more than likely it's going to be McCord, but we don't know that for sure. And the second reason is because my wife will want to watch Ohio State.
Well,
so,
you could have said that from the beginning.
I mean,
everything else you said is irrelevant. You could have said
although
that.
she's a big Prime fan also. So, but she'll just want to watch that later. This is a story that's very interesting as far as Colorado goes.
You're a Stater. Colorado, Nebraska is very interesting to me because if Nebraska comes out and drops this game to Colorado, it moves Matt Rule to 0-2. But more importantly, it moves Coach Prime halfway to his season over-under win total in 2 weeks. There's something to be said about that. James Madison is at Virginia. Tony Elliott playing at home for the first time. SC State at Georgia Tech. The Ramblin' Wreck looking to bounce back, and I think they will. I like Georgia Tech in the cover in this one. They had that game against Louisville in week 1. They were 7.5-point favorites and were within that spread. One of my successful bets from week 1. I think Tech is going to bounce back and show you that they've got some talent this year. Charleston Southern at Clemson. That game is at 2:15. The Buccaneers travel to Death Valley. This game, not interesting because the final score is in doubt, Lonzo. This game is interesting because we need to see if Clemson's offense can find something or if Clemson fans need to go ahead and settle in for another year of being disappointed when their team has the ball.
Are there Vegas odds on turnovers in this game? Because I'm curious about that. After game 1, turnovers a big story. Will this happen again against a lesser opponent?
there is absolutely the possibility of that happening. Now, will it happen or not? I don't know. Let me see. In fact, while we're looking down some of the rest of these odds, I'll see if I can pull the over/under on turnovers in this game, because it's hard not to take the over, right? Like if North Carolina was
and is
able to
that is that the new Clemson way? I'm just curious.
Honestly,
Is it?
It's a fair question. It really is a fair question. So I'll see if I can find those odds for you. They are not listed on BetMGM yet, but I will keep an eye on that and see if we can find them for you as we get closer. Clemson's going to cover the spread in this game. My question is, do they do it because their defense shuts out Charleston Southern, or do they do it because we see the offense explosion because Dabo lets Garrett Riley do Garrett Riley things? We'll find out. One of the better games of the weekend, surprisingly. How about Ole Miss at Tulane this weekend? They are expecting north of 50,000 fans in attendance, which, as somebody who grew up around Tulane fans, that's a lot of people at a Green Wave game. And the
Did you know there were that many Tulane fans?
In New Orleans, there are that many. I don't know that there are that many outside of New Orleans, but I will tell you, I am intrigued by this team. This is a Tulane team that went up against South Alabama last week. It was a team that people expected to see in a shootout with South Alabama, but they dominated 37-17. How about this stat line from Michael Pratt? Remember, Michael Pratt's the quarterback from Tulane last year that took Tulane to and won the bowl game over USC, the Southern Cal version. Last week, Lonzo, Michael Pratt was 14 of 15, 294, and 4 aerial touchdowns to show for it. That's a pretty good stat line.
That's not a bad day. There's some other quarterbacks that would love to have that.
Yes,
probably.
Yes, there absolutely are. That being said, I am not touching this game. I do not know how to, I don't know who to pick in this game. Tulane has got a bunch of new coaching staff, a bunch of new players. I thought there's no way that this Green Wave can ride that wave from last year to another season like they had, but maybe I'm wrong. Lane Kiffin's squad might be in a little trouble this weekend. Texas A&M returns the visit down to Miami and Lonzo because they are the Miami Hurricanes. You can not only pick up tickets to this game for like $30, but you can pick up tickets to this game for like $30 and get a buy one, get one free ticket to the Georgia Tech game October 7th as well. So things are going just swimmingly in Miami right now.
Wow, if they throw in some food, what a deal that would be.
I'm telling you, you throw a couple of brewskis onto that and I'll buy the tickets. That's not great. That being said, I think I'm going to take the Hurricanes in this one. Texas A&M is ranked. They did get a 52-10 win over New Mexico last weekend. But listen, Texas A&M is there with like Mississippi State in that group of teams that I just cannot bring myself to pick until they prove me that they're worth picking. The Canes at home are either going to get it done or they're not. I am going to go with Miami in this one over Texas A&M in a straight-up pick and an upset. Rocking down the rest of the schedule, most of the rest of the games that we care about are going to be late in the night. Tulsa's at number 8, Washington, Austin Peay at number 9, Tennessee. North Carolina, this one is good. And I'm intrigued to talk to Diesel tonight, who will be sitting in on the Burns game as our executive producer. Appalachian State is at North Carolina. Remember last year, North Carolina went to Boone to take on the Mountaineers. And last year, you'll remember, Lonzo, this game had 62 points scored. In the fourth quarter alone, dude, a 63-61 game that saw the Mountaineers put up a ridiculous 40 points in the fourth quarter alongside the 22 of the Tar Heels. Now, the Tar Heels are better this year. I do not know if Appalachian State is or not, but bet the over. Mash the slam. The over could be set at 100 in this game, and I might still bet it. It's an interesting one, if nothing else.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big one. Oklahoma hosts SMU, the future ACC, bound to SMU at 6 p.m. Duke hosts Lafayette at 6 o'clock. Why do I mention the Duke game, Lonzo? That is because, as we all, and by we all, I mean I all expected, the Duke Blue Devils are in the top 25. Great one. Can we show some love to the Blue Devils now?
Oh, absolutely. We can show some love to them.
By the way,
hopefully they continue their winning ways.
Duke is in the top 25 at number 21. The Clemson Tigers are still in the top 25, Lonzo, at 25.
Yes, it's so. It just looks stupid. It's a bad look for the people doing it.
It just looks. Why does it look stupid? Duke beat Clemson. They need to be ranked ahead of them, and they are.
No, I thought you said Clemson was ranked ahead of Duke.
No, Duke is 21. Clemson's 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I thought there was another poll. It might have been the. Are you talking about the coaches or the AP?
AP.
I think the coaches poll has Clemson still ranked ahead of Duke. If I recall, I thought I saw something and heard about that earlier in the week.
The AP poll has Duke at 21 and Clemson at 25 at 0-1. The NCAA College Football Coaches poll, run, of course, by USA Today, has Duke at 24 and Clemson at 21, which, yes, I would agree, that is stupid.
There we go. There we go. I thought you were talking about that poll. So, and that's run by the coaches, supposedly.
The coaches.
Okay.
All right, moving on down the schedule.
Wait, really quick. What place is Clemson in right now in the ACC?
Not first.
That would be tied for last, right? I know it's only been one game, but they're tied for last.
Moving down the rest of the schedule, Cincinnati is at Pittsburgh at 6:30. The game everybody's talking about, Texas, number 11, at Alabama, number 3. I got asked about this game last night on BetMGM Tonight, and I am just going to say, great one. This is the exact type of game that Nick Saban lives for. These are the games that Nick, for whatever reason, always has his boys fired up. Jalen Milroe in week 1 made a lot of Bama fans go, Bryce freaking who? That guy is big. He runs like he's angry. Not what you traditionally want out of your quarterback, but he's a stocky dude too. Prototype-wise, he's the opposite of Bryce Young. Alabama's going to win this game, and I like them to cover the 1.5 they're favored by as well. This game at Bryant-Denny Stadium at night, 7 p.m., it is going to be loud. Trista asked me about this one. Oregon is at Texas Tech. I am going to say that in this market, there is only me and Keegan that have told you that Bo Nix is kind of going to be a dude this year. It didn't work at Auburn, but I would say that we could point back to the absolute instability of Auburn over the last couple of years. Bo Nix is a pretty good little quarterback. Oregon's at a Texas Tech team that was in an absolute shootout last week on the road. Remember, they went to Wyoming and took on the Cowboys in Laramie, and they lost 35-33. I know that they're going to want a bounce-back game, a get-right game against Oregon. This one is in Lubbock, but give me the Ducks and give me the cover in that one. Let's see. Also down the schedule, Grambling is at LSU. It'll be a get-right game for them. Wisconsin at Washington State. That actually might be an okay game. Wisconsin gets the opportunity to prove that they are indeed the next team to be back in that conference in the Big Ten. Washington State, not a bad program either. McNeese is at Florida at 7:30. Furman at South Carolina at 7:30. Listen, the Gamecocks are 24-point favorites. Lonzo, am I nuts for taking the Furman Paladins to cover that? I think the Gamecocks are going to win outright.
No, you're not.
But
I think the Gamecocks are
going
win. I mean, why not?
I really do. This team can throw the ball. They can run the ball. They're physical defensively. They can. I know Emily said they won't be able to create the same havoc in the backfield as North Carolina did, and I agree with that. But they're going to get back there and make some noise. Give me Furman to cover, but South Carolina to win outright. Southern Miss at Florida State at 8:30 p.m. and Auburn at Cal at 10:30, followed by a midnight kick of Albany and Hawaii. Midnight football. Let's go. We're back after this to wrap up the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate.
What's cracking? It's Rome here. Playmakers, you know it.
On behalf of the entire listening audience, I'd like to say, ow.
Weekdays at noon on the Fan Upstate.
Midnight football.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash on
That was
the
a
Fan
piercing quality in your voice right there.
Tigers will look to bounce back from a season-opening loss against Duke. They'll take on
I felt it in my sinuses.
Texter said bacon wake sounds like what I do daily.
Yes.
The South Carolina Gamecocks play host to the Furman Paladins Saturday
you know
night.
what,
Furman
though?
beat Tennessee Tech
What?
45-10
I am
last
going
week.
to apologize
The Paladins are
for
ranked
making
sixth
you
in the
upset here,
FCS
and it's
poll. The
reasonable
teams
to
haven't
feel
met
that way,
since
but I think we're
2014
gonna
when
forgo
South
it
Carolina
because we
scored
did
a
not pick
41-10
NFL.
win. The Gamecocks lost their season opener
Should we do
31-17
that
at home
instead?
against number 17
I'm
North
fine with
Carolina
it.
last
Okay.
week. The Panthers open up the NFL season this Sunday on the road at Atlanta.
It'll be a
Adam
quick
Thielen and
run
DJ
through,
Chark were held
basically.
out of practice on Thursday. That means Bryce Young could be down as two
DJ
top receivers in his NFL debut.
DJ Chark,
The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladins football play-by-play all season long. Catch every game right here live. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Colleen Wolfe with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Lions shot
I really didn't have anything anyway, so that
on
works
opening
out.
night in Kansas City. Jared Goff
I've been
threw for
scrounging.
253
Like the only thing I had
yards.
was
Lions rookie defensive back Brian Branch
Nick Wright was the
picked off
biggest
Patrick
one.
Mahomes' pass and returned it 50 yards for
Yeah, I see
That's
it.
the badass
NFL
Billy Gunn. I
debut.
knew I had a picture
Mahomes
with
had
him in
two
it.
first-half
I'm
passing touchdowns.
more looking at the
Kansas City was
guitar
held
than
out of the end zone in the
That's
second half.
the Beyonce
The Chiefs
with
were
my
without tight end
Yeah.
Kelsey, who
which is
suffered
right
a
there,
bone
as a
bruise
matter
in
of
his
fact.
knee during practice this week.
Look at that.
Meanwhile,
Cinema!
defensive lineman Chris
I'm like
Jones was
Scorsese
on hand
with
in a
these
suite
shots.
as he
It'd be even
awaits
better
a
if,
deal.
you know, she
In
just
other
picked it
news,
up and
Bengals
started
quarterback
jamming
Joe
and
Burrow
went, you
agreed
know,
to a new
and I picked it up here and there. I don't really care about it
$275
that
She
much.
keeps telling me she
according to
wants to
NFL
learn to
insider
play
Ian
guitar,
Rappaport.
and I'm like,
With
well,
the
if
deal,
only
the
you knew
26-year-old
somebody. And
becomes
she, the other day,
highest
like
paid
3 years
player
ago,
in NFL
she's like, I
history.
really think I
This
want to
has
learn how to
been
play
NFL
guitar.
Network Now
And I'm
on
like,
the
well, if
Westwood
only you
One
knew
Radio
somebody how
Network.
to, like you knew somebody who knows how to play and could teach you. And she goes, I do. My
The
dad.
NFL is back, and
I
DraftKings
was like,
Sportsbook,
all
an
right.
official sports betting partner
been
of
to
the
my
NFL, is
shows,
giving you a
man.
can't-miss offer.
Yeah, but you
for
can't-
one.
you can't
New
go against
customers
that.
can get $200
I mean, you
in bonus
can't.
bets instantly
Her,
when you
her
bet
dad
just
and her
$5 on
stepmom
any NFL
both
game.
play
Plus, all
multiple
customers can
instruments.
take advantage of
So,
two new offers every single game
last
day
time
in
we went
September.
up there,
New
her dad was
customers,
like, hey, I gotta show you
download the
something.
DraftKings
And we
Sportsbook
walked
app,
into
use the code ROAM, and
his
take
main
home
room,
$200
and he had
in
gone
bonus
and
bets
he bought
instantly
a,
just for betting
bass guitar and a
$5.
bass.
That's code ROME
And I was like, why'd you do
only
that?
on
And he
DraftKings
goes,
Sportsbook.
so I could
Must be
jam with
present
you.
in
We
a
could have a
state
bass.
where it's lawful to
And I was
do.
like,
Gambling problem? Call
Yeah.
1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
You know, all bass players want to be guitarists, but not all guitarists can play bass. So, I mean,
Please play
yeah.
responsibly.
You know, I always thought,
plus age varies by
I've been
jurisdiction.
told
14 in
multiple times
Ontario.
I would have made a great bassist in a band, right?
CDKNG.co/football for
Just
eligibility.
because of
Terms and
the
responsible
presence in
gaming
the
resources. Bonus bets expires 7 days after
and I
issuance. Eligibility
realized
and
I
deposit restrictions
actually
apply.
probably would have been a
this year,
bassist,
I've got a
except
game changer
for
for you.
as a
When it comes to
bassist,
creating a winning
you
website,
gotta
there's
know
only
scales
one
in
team I
theory.
trust.
Like you have to know scales in theory. With
I've known them for
guitar, I can just
25
remember
years.
that these chords, this order.
That was not towards you or Steven. That was towards me. Me throwing my hands up. Whatever, man. He'll be back at studio next week, and I don't have to work.
I put my
Well,
hands up in the air sometimes, singing Ayo, the commercial Play-Doh.
very, very well done. I gotta say.
I'm pretty solid at the impromptu parody lyrics, you know?
Yeah, I don't believe in parody.
That was
sarcasm.
Ross Tucker just made an interesting point. Are you, when you get wings, Lonzo, are you a drums guy or a flats guy?
Drums,
Okay.
without a doubt. Yeah,
What
because you get more meat on it, and there's less work.
I agree.
By the way, Steven, yes, we are in house, but not full cast.
What about Miss Lisa? Drums or flats?
I don't think we've been married almost 31
You don't know
years.
the answer. answer.
And I don't believe we've ever asked that of each other. I think she's she likes drums best. So when she gets a bunch of chicken, she will always get a bunch of drums instead of, the combination.
Trey said, what kind of pedals do you use?
Oh no.
What?
Oh no. Talk, please.
Talk.
Oh no. No, we just lost you.
On Comrades?
I mean,
or on the stream?
it's broken up big time. Like unplug it and plug it back in or something.
97.7 FM Greenville.
From the Free Odyssey. CBS Sports Radio. Listen on the Odyssey app. Search the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I'm Rob Brown, the great one Lonzo back in the network studio. Are we good? Just so I know.
All right, this is weird. So I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit while we try to figure out what's going on, since we only got a couple minutes left. I have you up, can't hear you. My triggers are not working either, so I didn't play any music. You can keep trying. So Rob is at home right now. Can you hear yourself fine?
Yep, sure can.
Yeah, not here. So it must be something on our end. So for the next 3 minutes, either I talk or we play commercials, and Rob just nods on StreamYard. Although he could switch to StreamYard audio, and we could see if we could pull that up on the fly.
How about now? Fix it. Well, I should be good on stream now, because I have flipped over to my other USB, my control board, which means that the Comrex has gone bad for some reason, either on your end or mine. Can you hear me? Bye, everybody. Don't touch it. Don't move. Don't think about it. Don't breathe on it. Don't look at it. All right. And now for the final minute and a half of the show. Am I there on Comrex or am I there on the stream? Wonderful. Wonderful. It happens. It happens to everybody. Well, you know what? We can do that, because now if I'm coming through, I'm actually coming through, I guess, on stream. I don't care.
No, you're coming through. If there's an echo, if you can hear me or you can't hear me, it doesn't matter. You know who can hear me?
Give me the Falcons -3.5 over the Panther. I throw my hands up in the air sometime, singing, hey, yo, gotta let go. I'm gonna celebrate and live my life, singing, hey, yo, gotta let go. Something, 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 dynamite. I throw my hands up in the air sometime, singing, ayo, gotta let go. I'm gonna celebrate and live my life, singing, ayo, gotta let go. We're gonna walk out something, 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 till it's dynamite. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys can hear me, since Lonzo couldn't. He said jiggle a wire. I jiggled all the wires, Steven. I jiggled all the wires. I jiggled this wire. I jiggled that wire. I wonder maybe I switched to the other pot. Hey, Lonzo, can you hear me over here? Try that one. All right. Well, thanks to everybody who watched.
I appreciate it. Sorry it went haywire there at the end. But hey, what are you going to do? Have a lovely day. Bye, Lonzo. I'll